So last night we were watching the town hall with Donald Trump here on Timcast IRL. And I don't know if you noticed, but when they wrapped the show up, I was like, oh, I guess the show's over, because we had planned for the show to go till 9:30. And we noticed a couple things. There were weird commercials back to back. They did no commercials and all of a sudden went to commercial, then came back for like 10 minutes and then went to commercial again, and then abruptly shut the show down. It is confirmed that CNN cut the show short by 20 minutes. And we don't know why, but I think it's because Donald Trump was roasting them on their own network. Everyone was cheering and they panicked. So we're gonna talk about the ramifications of this. We've got CNN employees are in revolt. All of the liberal left are screaming, "How dare you, CNN?" And I think CNN is now bleeding what little audience it had left. Jeff Zucker turned the network from generic corporate news into leftist psychopathy. And now those people are furious. And Chris Licht, the new CEO, he's not going to be able to bring that back. Sorry, you can't resurrect this corpse. Then we got other big news. Daniel Penny, the man in New York who was defending people from a violent, deranged man, who then tried to save that man, will be criminally charged. So thanks to the likes of people like AOC and the far left, they're getting what they want. And this man who was trying to save others and the violent perpetrator himself, yeah, he's going to get locked up. He's getting manslaughter charges, which I imagine he'll likely, maybe he'll take a plea. Maybe he'll get convicted. I think he's going to do some kind of time. So we'll talk about that. Plus, Elon Musk has appointed a new CEO, or he's announced a new CEO of Twitter coming soon. And we think we know who it is. The Wall Street Journal has the report. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and purchase Cast Brew coffee. We have just launched the Cast Brew Coffee Club, where for $40 you get 3 different roasts per month. And that's actually a pretty good deal because normally it would be like $46 to $50. So it's a big discount. And we have to update it, but there's going to be a discount system where after a certain amount of time, like 6 months, the price drops even further for our longstanding customers. And the other news, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we've sold out of Rise with Roberto Jr. So thank you guys so much for supporting Casper Coffee. That just basically means we sold a lot of coffee. Yeah, we sold out and then some. So we're roasting the next batch for everybody. Go to Casper.com if you want to support the show because we are sponsoring ourselves in light of everything that's happening in this world. We got another story, too, pertaining to Jeremy's chocolate. A gay conservative professor was put on leave for just having the chocolate available for people to eat. That's it. So we're going to talk about the parallel economy, too. Don't forget to also head over to Timcast.com. Click that Join Us button in the menu bar. Sign up to become a member. And you can hang out in our Discord server with like-minded individuals and submit questions for our members-only uncensored show Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. We're going to have one of those uncensored shows on the front page of timcast.com at about 10 p.m. 10 p.m. is when it usually goes live. And we'd like to see you there. So become a member, support our work. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. Share this show if you really do like it. That one's really important. And you can follow the show at Timcast IRL. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Auron MacIntyre.
Hey, man, thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm over at The Blaze. Got a show there, the Auron MacIntyre podcast. I've also got a YouTube channel, Twitter, all that stuff, talking about political philosophy, news of the day, that kind of stuff.
Well, right on. Thanks for hanging out. It should be fun.
Absolutely.
We got Seamus.
My name's Seamus Coughlin. We're on a YouTube channel called Freedom Tunes. We usually upload Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we decided we're going to upload Friday this week because we wanted to polish the video up a little bit more. So if you guys want to go over there and subscribe, we will be releasing that tomorrow. We also have a membership portal at freedomtunes.com where you can become a member and get an extra cartoon each week, as well as more behind-the-scenes stuff.
How fun.
Very fun.
How you doing? I'm Phil Labonte. I am the lead singer of All That Remains. I am an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary.
Dude, that new song, I was blasting it all day.
I appreciate that.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say anything about the new All That Remains stuff, but no joke. I was blasting it.
Tim has heard some stuff, and we are excited to present it. It is sufficiently aggressive for the Fall of Ideals fans, I promise. So
nice. I've heard some stuff as well. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Cheers, man. Thank you.
And I am Serge.com. I'm ready to get to it, Tim, whenever you are.
Let's jump into this first story. Look at this from Newsweek.com. CNN cutting Donald Trump Townhall short by 20 minutes raises questions. I love this. They say the former president, 2024 primary contender, took to the stage, blah, blah, blah. In a statement to Newsweek earlier this week, the network said it was our job, despite his unique circumstances, to do what we do best, blah, blah, we get it. Dylan Byers, a senior correspondent at Puck News, tweeted on Wednesday that the town hall was scheduled as a 90-minute broadcast, though the network expected the actual event to go as long as 75 minutes. He went on to say that it was ended less than 70 minutes in. In other words, they could have gone longer if they wanted, which is usually what executives do with big ratings draws. And it pulled in 3.3 million viewers, which is massive for CNN. Yet for some reason, two interesting things. The first, 40 minutes in, we get this abrupt commercial. And I was like, oh, they did a commercial. That's weird. Normally when they do events like this, there's no commercials. And it was weird for us. I'm like, I guess we're going to go to commentary while we wait for the commercial to pass. Show comes back for a few minutes, jumps to commercial again. Okay, that's really weird. They come back. Well, that's it for tonight. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see y'all later. Bye. Off. I wonder what happened. What do you guys think happened? Do you think it was that Trump was just doing such an amazing job?
Yeah, I don't know. I would imagine that's why, but it's really shocking to me that CNN would have the self-awareness to stop focusing on Trump when they were getting good ratings from it, because the entire story of 2016 was them focusing on him nonstop and boosting his public platform, all the while claiming to hate him because they knew it would pull in more money for them. So it's kind of out of character for them to try to pull back from Trump, even when the optics are good for him.
You know what I think it is? I think CNN used to be generic corporate press. I used to have CNN on 24/7. I would turn the TV on, put it to CNN, and then I would just start working. Because when breaking news would happen, they'd be like, breaking news, a tornado was touched down. And I'd be like, oh, wow, CNN, they get it quick. And then at some point, it was just nothing but Trump. And then I was like, okay, this is doing nothing for me. There's no news here. It was just people opining, so I turned it off. When I turned it off, and a bunch of other moderates and independents and people like me turned it off, the only people left standing watching that were anti-Trump psychopaths, which CNN was courting. Years later, that's the only group of people who watches the network. So when they said, we're going to do a Donald Trump town hall, and Chris Lick, the CEO, is like, we're going to build our credibility back up with America, they looked at what was going on. They looked at the feedback and they were like, we are getting obliterated right now. Cut it.
If you were paying attention to Twitter and stuff, the talk amongst a lot of the more vocal leftists was how the audience response was laughing and basically enjoying the Trump show. They were, laughing and getting along. It was great for them. And I think that was one of the things that really made a big difference. I think that CNN realized that essentially they were hurting their arguments and allowing Trump to embarrass them. And I think that was one of the big things for them to take them down. I think that the comments on CNN or on Twitter were making an effect.
Matt Gaetz called it a mercy rule. He says, I've never seen a town hall get called like a mercy rule before. That really happened? Yes.
Yeah, there was a real sense of panic. You could tell that you were not supposed to allow Trump to kind of have that magic back again. He is in his element when he's destroying the media, when he's kind of just breaking that mystery about them, that kind of thin veneer of civility where they kind of pretend like they don't hate America, but it's very clear that they do. And he just enrages them in the way that no one else does when he's doing, his thing up there. And so when you saw the people laughing, when you saw him joking, when you saw him pulling attention away from the host, embarrassing him, that moment when he breaks out his own tweets that he's printed up, I mean, you knew it was done after that. Yeah. And they were obviously losing control.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of what's so remarkable about this is that this was not a Trump rally. It might have felt like one, but this is a CNN town hall, which means the kind of person going to that isn't necessarily who you would expect to be Trump's demographic of supporters. And he was crushing. He was absolutely killing it there. And I think that made them really panic too.
Would you see that clip where they ask the panel about the town hall and they're like, does it bother you that Trump won't stop talking about 2020? And the guy goes, you asked him about 2020. And they were like, well, right. But, he talks about it a lot. And he's like, maybe you could ask him about something else. And it's like, well, yeah, yes, we could. Yeah, they screwed this whole thing up. Well, I think Trump did a great job.
And what CNN has often done is they've taken clips of Trump out of context to try to make it as unflattering as possible. And I'm not saying Trump doesn't or hasn't said things that are very easy to spin in a negative way, right? The guy isn't always prudent with his choice of words.
No, but he's always hilarious.
But he's always hilarious. And they just gave that unfiltered hilariousness directly to their audience. And they have this woman on stage who's constantly interrupting, constantly trying to cut him off, and constantly trying to do the finger wagging, which becomes much more obnoxious when you're there with the person who's entertaining them, right?
Extremely off-putting, yes.
Exactly. So if you have footage of Trump killing it at a rally and everyone's having fun and it's enjoyable, and then you take footage of that and you go, this was bad, I'm wagging my finger, how horrible, that's kind of annoying, right? But if you're at the event actively trying to stop the fun from happening, those are the worst possible optics. No one's on your side. No one is on your side.
Why are you trying to throw a wet blanket on the funny man?
Exactly.
Let the funny man be funny.
We're having a good time, huh? What are you doing? We're here listening to Trump make jokes.
Exactly. And she became an unwitting performer, right? And this is sort of how Michael Malice describes trolling. He says turning someone else into an unwitting performer, which I think can be a solid definition for what trolling is. Mm-hmm. And there became something that was kind of comical about the fact that every time he was talking, she's like, no, wait, no, I have to correct that.
You're a nasty person.
You're just very nasty.
It was the teacher chasing the child as the child's running through the room, throwing stuff, and the teacher's just running after the kid, trying to get the kid to sit down. And would you put that down? And no, get over here. And put that. Don't put your finger in there. That's exactly what she was doing. And Donald Trump's and people are dying, and he is just absolutely making a fool of this woman. Well, it was wonderful.
You could really see that dynamic when he's like, "Oh," or she kept saying, "You can't keep calling it a rigged election. You can't keep saying that." I'm like,
I can do what I want.
Exactly. He just runs right over. She has no control over the situation. This is supposed to be an inquisition. They're supposed to bring Trump up there and hold him accountable, and make the entire audience just see his evil ways, and he's just making them look hilarious. And that's the worst thing that can happen when you're trying to be in a position of authority, persecuting somebody.
So do you guys think Trump's back? Trump is back.
That's a
2016?
complicated question. That's a
very
complicated question. I mean,
question.
how is he going to pull with the American people overall? I don't know. I will say this was good for him. This was very good for him.
Best day since I heard someone on the way in. I heard someone talking about it. The best day since he went to Ohio.
What was Ohio?
When he went to the Ohio at the train derailing.
Oh, right.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. This brought back a lot of that energy. In the beginning, it was a little slow. He was a little. I was like, "Oh, come on, man!" And then in the end, he's standing up and he's like, "No, boy, you're a nasty woman. Nasty. What is it? Nasty person. Nasty
Something
person.
like that. He's like, "You're very nasty." He says, "Like, oh boy, are you nasty?" Something along those lines.
Because what we're getting out of this town hall is a guy kind of giving us legitimate answers. Look, do you want Ukraine to win the war? I want people to stop dying. Oh, now even Newsweek has it. Look at this.
That's a very good diplomatic answer to that, right?
Because do you want to go ahead and be like, yeah, we have to smash Russia because we're only like closer to nuclear war than we've been since the 60s.
This is what they wrote. Speaking at the town hall, Trump would not say whether he wanted Ukraine to win the war against Russia, a battle the Biden admin has supported with aid, and said the U.S. might as well default on its debt despite warning the potential for devastating economic impact if it did. I'm all for that. Like, I'm all for letting the default happen. I'm like, we can't just live this way. I think Trump's strategy on Ukraine, I know what his strategy is. It's sit down with Putin and Zelensky and say, what ends this war? And then having them both be like X, Y, and Z. And he goes, done. That's it. Mm-hmm. And that means both parties are going to be unhappy. But the problem is the zealots in this country, you have to march in lockstep with the cult. And this is why I say like the woke stuff has nothing to do with leftist ideology in its root, because there's no reason why Ukraine's war support, that support for war in Ukraine has nothing to do with Marxism or communism or any ideologies or anything like that. It's just you have to be marching in lockstep. That's what Caitlyn was hoping to get. That's what Cena was hoping to get. Do you want Ukraine to win the war? And Trump says what most Americans probably accepted and wanted to hear. We want people to stop dying. Yep. Just stop the war. Just make it stop. There we go. You can't have that.
Nope.
Gotta shut that down.
No, as if he's supposed to come out and be some kind of war hawk. Of course, that's exactly what they want. Like you said, they want him to go out there and basically be as bombastic as he usually is, but with a nuclear armed power instead. And I'm not saying that Trump being bombastic has always been a bad thing with respect to foreign policy. There's a good argument to be made that his brashness is part of why Putin didn't invade Ukraine while Trump was in office and waited until there was a ice cream loving child sniffing man with dementia in office to make that move. But she's clearly trying to coax Trump into saying something that would be bad for his public image and also the United States standing on the world stage. It's good that he's handling this as diplomatically as he is.
3.3 million viewers. That's a big deal for CNN. Mm-hmm. You know, they normally can't muster that up. But we got more news. CNN's own employees are disparaging the Trump Townhall. Employees inside the company are slamming the network for giving Trump a platform to spout false claims on a multitude of issues. We have this thread from Brian Stelter. I love this one because it shows how out of touch they are. Chris Licht begins CNN's 9 a.m. editorial call praising Caitlyn Collins for a, quote, masterful performance last night. He says, I couldn't be more proud of her and the whole team in New Hampshire. Then he says he's aware of the backlash, more to come. Okay, CNN's doomed. If they thought Caitlyn Collins did a good job, that they're just done. It was a poor performance by an individual who should not be in that position. Caitlyn Collins does not have the persona, the presence, the gravitas, the talent, capability to stand up against a Donald Trump figure in this way. She just comes off as whiny the whole time, constantly interrupting him.
No fun. She was literally the no fun person.
Yeah. But that's like all the press can do at this point, right? Like they all know that they're not allowed to be objective anymore. They all know that they're not allowed to let him get up there and give a fair hearing. They all understand that it's their job to destroy this person publicly. And if they don't do that, they're going to get criticized for being too light on Trump, for facilitating him, for, and putting him up there. And so they understand that they have to just badger him like this. And it doesn't matter how ridiculous they look, because they don't care about the audience and they don't care about the ratings. They care about the approval of their friends. They care about the approval of the crowd. They care about their standing in the progressive movement. That's all that matters. They're not journalists in any kind of significant way that you think about. They are very clearly Democratic apparatchiks, and that's the only measure of success they have.
This is really good news. Really, really good news. They are eating themselves from the inside. They can't. This was 3.3 million viewers. CNN needs this kind of traffic. They need to go on TV and have a real conversation about what Americans actually want. They can't, because the cult is holding them down by their ankles. This just means CNN, I hope you're listening, CNN, or if you work there, your company is crumbling because you are a zombie cult. And I don't care. In fact, I'm ready to crack open that Louis XIII and share a little bottle of fine cognac to celebrate the demise of CNN. I can't wait for it. MTV News is gone.
We'll mix it with Diet Coke.
Yeah, maybe. MTV News just died. BuzzFeed News is over. Vice is nearing bankruptcy. It's amazing. Well, Soros, I guess, is bailing out Vice. And now CNN can't even do any. It's like, I just want to say how funny it is that CNN is desperate, saying, please help us watch our channel. And they finally got something, Trump. And they're like, this might save us. And the left comes with pitchforks, crowbars, and baseball bats.
Struggle session engaged.
Yep.
Well, and it's like Auron said, every single move that they make is calculated to boost their own personal social credit score. Every single one of these people. All that matters is that those around them say you were a good progressive, you behaved well, you did what you were supposed to do, you pushed back properly. None of it's about trying to find common ground. None of it's about trying to get more information for their audience about the 2020 election, about the Russia-Ukraine conflict, about any other relevant issue. It's about showing them that I'm good because I don't like Trump.
We are closer to nuclear war than we have been since the 60s. It is an actual possibility that, no one would be completely and utterly shocked if Putin launched a couple nuclear artillery strikes in Ukraine. No one would it wouldn't be like, oh my God, that came out of nowhere. No, they're at war and there's a lot of people dying, and that is something that could actually happen.
I want to tell you what I see when I watch the CNN thing. It feels like I went to a skate park.
And they didn't say anything about that.
It feels like I'm at a skate park and there's a bunch of little kids on scooters riding around, and you're like, these kids don't know etiquette. They're going the wrong way, and it's very dangerous because if you're going fast, you're gonna do a big old kickflip, you crash into one of these kids, you get hurt, the kid gets hurt. It's like, oh, that's what I see when I watch CNN. Caitlyn Collins is a really, really good example of this. It's obvious she has no idea what she's talking about. She has no views of her own to actually insert to debate Trump with. So instead, she's just debating him in a generic nuh-uh.
Yes.
Nuh-uh. And my favorite example is when Trump said that he offered the National Guard to D.C., but it was rejected. She goes, that's not true. Your own Chris Miller said it didn't happen. It is literally true. She was interrupting Trump, and she was wrong, factually wrong. That's the worst thing. So you have someone, if Caitlyn Collins is a pundit, of someone who opines on issues and has an in-depth view on these things, and wanted to push back on Trump, I'd be like, that's interesting. It's a debate. But she's supposed to be a moderator. And what a moderator does says, Trump, here's a question. What do you think? Interesting. How do you respond to this question? If Trump said, look, I was offering up National Guard and they didn't want it, they said no, then she'd say, well, Chris Miller wrote in his book that you did not authorize the deployment. Then he'd say, I did offer it to DC and they said no. So there is a difference. And the moderator should then say, okay, not nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh, Seamus.
Exactly. Well,
Nah.
it's all about boosting that
No.
social credit score. And
Wrong.
Phil, you made a very good point about the fact that there is a very high risk of nuclear war. Any risk is too much risk in some sense. But instead of focusing on that and engaging
instead
the
of asking
conversation,
any questions about it.
But instead of engaging that question with any level of social responsibility, she
Yes.
wanted Trump to be as inflammatory and bombastic as possible. And instead of focusing on the possibility of nuclear war, the left instead wants to prioritize the fact that you drove your car too many miles last week and that's making the weather angry, right? Like their apocalyptic fears are of things that everyday Americans do in order to live their lives. And they involve basically no focus on powerful people who are profiting millions, even billions of dollars off of these conflicts overseas that we don't need to be involved with, which could legitimately result in millions and millions and millions of deaths.
I do want to give a shout out to our friend Sonny Hosten over at The View for trashing Caitlyn Collins over the Trump Townhall fiasco. Masterful job. Wow. I agree with her. Wow, she was surprised. Caitlyn Collins exemplified what it means to be a world-class journalist. She asked tough, fair questions, CNN said in a statement after the town hall. And she followed up and fact-checked Trump in real time to arm voters with crucial information. That's what CNN is betting on. Activism. To be honest, I didn't like the platform, but I also want to say this because I know she's getting flack from some folks. Caitlyn Collins did a masterful job, Griffin noted. Masterful job. Wow. As a young woman seeing a 30-year-old journalist take it to one of the most powerful men in the world, Griffin continued, as Hosten tout snide asides, she got in there. It's really easy. Hosten then proceeded to Monday morning quarterback it. Well, we get it. I think she did a terrible job. And if CNN is betting on that, I'm just really excited. Like at least Don Lemon had some fire in him. You know what I mean? Like Don Lemon was a crazy man, but he would argue with Vivek. And you'd be like, oh, I can't believe he's actually like, but you knew it was coming. You knew who he was. Caitlyn Collins, it's like putting a mannequin on stage and then like pulling the ripcord. And she's like, no, Trump, you are wrong.
Well, the one difference is she never asked him whatever your ethnicity is while she was scolding him.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I mean,
Go ahead.
this point, they just don't understand how to handle. I mean, he doesn't care. He doesn't give them the respect they believe they deserve. They're so inept. They've never run into anyone who doesn't just automatically genuflect in front of them because they're the media and they're the kingmakers and they're the ones that have to be served at any moment because they control your image. And that's what Trump does so well. He has the image. Maybe it's not always a great one. Sometimes he goes wild, but he's the one in control. He's the one in the driver's seat, and it drives them nuts. I mean, what are they going to do? They've called this guy Hitler. They've called this guy Satan. Are they going to pretend like he had a good performance? Are they going to pretend like their person did a bad job? They've got to lie about it. It's the only thing they've got left, and that's why they keep looking more and more ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
I wonder how much
absolutely.
they pay her. Caitlyn Collins. We talked about it last night.
77 cents on the dollar for the men they have working there, Tim, and it's a problem.
Well, actually, let me do some quick.
Do you know she made significantly less money than the man she was on stage with last night? Significantly lower
That's true.
net worth overall.
Let's do this.
Explain that to me,
gotta be sexism.
Don Lemon's salary.
because I don't understand why the world
All right,
works
check it
that
out.
way.
The New York Times in April said Don Lemon's salary was $7 million. All right, let's do Caitlyn Collins' salary here, and Google says $1 to $3 million. So it's worse than 77 cents on the dollar, Seamus.
I think that Don Lemon,
It's like 40 cents on the dollar.
and I'm sure they pull in the exact same numbers for the network. I'd be curious to see how much viewership Don Lemon pulls in as opposed to her, because this could be a classic example of workplace sexism, and I think Don needs to acknowledge his unearned privilege.
Well, apparently now they're going to give her Cuomo's time slot.
Her?
It's really sad.
She's
It's
getting a.
I think that's confirmed actually.
Oh my!
That she's getting the 9 p.m. CNN time slot, and it's just not. No, like Aaron Burnett, I get. Like, Anderson Cooper, I get. Caitlyn Collins, it's like a mannequin on TV. It's just like looking at a chunk of plastic with a mouth just goes. There's nothing there.
That's how you view women, Tim?
No, just Caitlyn
Sick.
Collins. Like Aaron
You're
Burnett
sick,
actually
man.
has
You
like.
sexist animal.
But it's not sexist if I compliment another woman in the same
I know, I'm
sentence.
giving
That
you a
proves
hard
it. You know what I mean?
No, well, no. Anytime you say
proves it.
no, Tim, I don't think you understand.
It's like
this.
I had my fingers crossed.
Anytime you criticize any person from any group, that means you hate the entire group. Do you not understand?
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy. You're going to sexist jail.
No, I think I talked about this earlier, like Dana Bash. Like CNN has female personalities and male personalities, and you get it. Caitlyn Collins, I don't understand. They're just like, help, we need young people. What do we do? Like, this is the best we could do. I don't know. Throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks.
I want to figure out
guess.
her ratings as opposed to Don Lemon's ratings to see if she's getting ripped off.
I
will negotiate for her. I will go to that network and let them know that she's worth more. Now, Don Lemon's not there anymore. Maybe they couldn't afford him given his ratings. I don't know. But I think it's telling that he makes so much more than her, and he's a man.
But I actually, fair point. I think we do need to, every one of us tweet at CNN and demand they pay Caitlyn Collins exactly what they pay Anderson Cooper. Mm-hmm. It is not fair.
It's not fair.
And when if she takes over the 9 p.m. slot, she should get 100% the same amount that Cuomo got. That's how it works. And what was Cuomo's salary? Do we know what Cuomo's salary was?
Seamus, I like your turn as the new Gloria Steinem.
Thank you. Well, look, someone has to continue the legacy. It's very important. And what I will say is that according to two different sources, Anderson Cooper's salary is $12 million. $12 million. I don't want to live in a country where everyone isn't making $12 million a year.
Right? Like, remember when Bloomberg spent $500 million on the election?
To get heckled? That was great. To get bullied.
That means there's 300 million people in the United States. He could have given every American $1 million. Remember that lady said that? Yo, it's actually $1.30, not $1 million. Everyone gets $1.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No. I think if CNN doesn't pay Caitlyn Collins $12 million, it proves they're sexist.
That's exactly right.
CNN.
By the way,
find the money somewhere.
I think the average share in the national debt per person is about $200,000. So just to be clear, with the sum of money that Tim just laid out that would give every person $1.30, right? You want to do the math on confiscating all the wealth from all the billionaires the way they talk about to fund all their social programs. Like, we literally wouldn't even make a dent in the money that we owe.
How about we do this?
Close.
If you want to vote, you have to pay more in taxes than the national debt per person.
Oh my gosh. You have to pay off your share of the national debt.
So if it's $200,000 per person and rising and it's out of your control, you would need to make, what is that? You'd have to make like $500,000 a year.
Well, no. You just pay off your share of the debt once.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah. You pay off your share of the debt once, and now you get to vote. I think that's the only.
There would be like 10 people voting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get serious. We have this story from the New York Post. This is big news. Daniel Penny to surrender and face second-degree manslaughter charge in Jordan Neely chokehold. That's right. Despite the fact that we have video showing he tried to save the life of this man, despite the fact we know this man had been arrested dozens of times, kidnapped a child, punched an old man in the face, punched a woman in the face. We know that he was threatening people on the train and said he didn't care if he got hurt or went to jail. 3 men took it upon themselves to subdue him. This guy is going to have to surrender for manslaughter charges. Up to 15 years in prison. I would not be surprised if he is convicted and sentenced to the maximum. That's it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was convicted. I would hope that the judge wouldn't sentence him to the maximum, but I would have no faith in New York's justice system to not, considering the pressures that would come from the activists and the left more broadly. He's got almost no chance. He wasn't initially even charged. Like, they had to go to a grand jury. It's not like it was
They did not go to a grand jury.
Oh, they didn't.
They did not go to a grand jury. Nope. They just decided, I want to charge him.
Well, that only makes the my opinion of the whole thing worse, and it makes my opinion of the outcome more dire, I suppose. I don't see this guy getting out of it in one piece.
What about
activists
you?
Went on the street?
Pessimistic?
No, I mean, I think the only things that are illegal in New York at this point are political opposition, self-defense, and desecrating the pride flag, right?
Yeah.
That's the only thing they'll actually hold you accountable for. You can't be surprised. It's a narco-tyranny at this point. The whole reason you're out there is you let these people loose, you let them terrorize the average person, terrorize the population, and then as soon as anyone stands up for themselves, then you go ahead and strike them down, for daring to, take care of themselves and not rely entirely on the state. It's very clear the state's not going to do its job. It's not going to protect these people. It's only going to persecute people who they disagree with. And then as soon as you step up and you try to take care of yourself, you're out of there. And I don't understand how anyone's still living in these places at this point. It's horrific.
So here's a quote. It is stunning that they would make an arrest before presenting this to a grand jury, defense attorney and former Manhattan prosecutor Mark Betterow said Thursday following news of the charges. Bragg made a political call. He now owns this. Absolutely, it's political. We all saw this coming. We knew where it was going. Kim Potter She's the cop who the guy dives into his car and she reaches for her gun. She thought she was tasing him. She yells taser, but then shoots him and kills him. And when that happened, we were like, oh, she's going to prison. And she did. She recently got out. We do have a give, send, go for Daniel Penny's legal defense fund, which is currently at $71,332. I bet if I refresh it, it'll go up. Refresh, now $90,000. See, this defense fund was launched before the charges were announced. Now that they've been announced, it seems that people are flocking to it and giving this man money, and I won't. We were talking about this earlier, and I've been talking about this quite a bit. And I talked about this with Kim Potter years ago. Look, I hope this guy gets acquitted. I think it's terrible what they're doing to him. But at a certain point, I'm just wondering why it is that people keep sending their money into burning buildings where the fires aren't being put out. Like, we're talking about the city of New York engulfed in figurative flames, and people being like, I'm going to go walk in there. And you're like, no, dude, like, come on, seriously, man, don't go in there. Like, no, I'm going to go in there. You're like, if you go in there, you're going to get burned. I'm going to go in there. Then they walk in, start screaming, help, help, I'm on fire. Like, I'm not going to go in that building. I think it's ridiculous at this point. So here's what ends up happening. People on the right, libertarians, post-liberals, disaffected liberals, send money to the defense of people who are choosing to live in places where we know they will destroy you unjustly, and it drains resources from us. It takes money from you, and that's probably on purpose. It's like the villain when the superhero is like, I'm Superman and you can't stop me, and then the Joker's like, oh yeah, and then points the weapon at the kid, and then Superman's like, oh no, now you've got me because I care about other people. This is what they're doing. They're holding us hostage, keeping us off base by targeting innocent people and threatening them with 15 years in prison. But look, it's tough. I don't want this guy going to jail. I think he was doing the right thing, protecting other people. And clearly these two other guys agreed with him and helped him subdue this guy. But at what point...
And the passengers thanked him.
Right. And then he tried to save the guy's life. But at what point are we going to be like, we can't keep throwing money at people who choose to live in communist jurisdictions?
I mean, you see this all the time. You see these videos and people all say, why isn't anyone stepping up? You watch someone harassing a homeless person or some crazy person attacking people, getting violent with people, and they're like, why aren't the men stepping in? Why aren't they taking action? And this is the answer. Everyone understood what was going to happen here, especially, again, due to the racial dynamic. Let's be really honest. This guy's white. The guy who died is black. And that's all that mattered. Before anything else, that's all that mattered. That's what everyone saw. It's what all the liberals were acting on. And this guy had to be held accountable because they're going to hold this guy up as being murdered. They're already talking about, oh, he's a really kind guy. He's having a lot of mental health troubles. He's a very sweet person who's, performing on the subway with Michael Jackson impersonator. No, he's a violent criminal who had felony charges out against him. It's very clear that he's a threat to everyone around him. The city made sure that he was still in public. And as soon as anyone stood up to him, they're in terrible trouble. I know that people want to stay in these areas. I understand. I have a lot of friends who say we have to stay in these areas because this is where culture happens. This is where decisions happens. But at this point, I don't know how you say, you're going to have a family here where you know that they're encouraging violence and you know that it's illegal for you to defend yourself. I mean, how can you just can't exist in this place.
And culture is dying. Disney is losing subscribers by the millions, and your vote doesn't matter in places like New York City.
Yep.
But if you move to a suburb of New York or even, a swing state, move to Ohio, move to Georgia and go to a suburban area that desperately needs your vote. And that's the front line of what's going on. What's happening now is people are like, I'm going to choose to stay behind enemy lines and then ask you for resources. And it's just like, dude, you know what I want to donate to? I want to donate to a small business in Georgia right now. I want to donate to Scott Pressler. I don't want this guy going to prison, but it's like, how do we have to allocate funds to a guy who's like captured effectively, but chose to go there and is not doing anything in terms of winning a culture war? Y'all who are in these cities, I know it's hard, but if you moved to Ohio and moved to a suburban area that was purple and shifted everything red, we would be winning. Instead, there are people who are choosing to live in places like New York and then being surprised this is happening.
If you live in New York City, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how far away the corner of Pennsylvania is, but I know it's like an hour and a half or something like that. It's possible you could move to Pennsylvania and still work in New York if you got to stay there, but get out of the cities. I mean, I moved to New Hampshire a decade and change ago because I wanted to get out of Western Massachusetts because I didn't want, the laws that Massachusetts had. And Massachusetts at the time was not nearly the place that it is now. So, I mean, you're in control of your own life. You can't control what your neighbors are voting for. You can't control what the people down the street are voting for. You can control where you live. Get out of cities and make sure that you are taking care of you and your family.
Yeah. If you think you're going to be the person who saves Illinois or New York or California, just know that you're liable to have this happen to you or one of your children, or to have your children be put on puberty blockers and taken from you and mutilated.
In New York City, there are violent protests against this man, against him. People are not protesting for him. They are marching violently and attacking cops because they hate him. I do not see that as a salvageable place. No one in New York likes what he did. The people of New York like this. You see the video of the woman getting punched in the face? She tells the guy to take a chill pill and he clocks her clean in the face. That was 2 years ago. 2022 comes around. They vote for it again. What are we supposed to do? Just tell him, like, okay, keep doing it? Nah, look, obviously the woman got punched in the face, did not want to get punched in the face, but she'll still vote for the same policies. Obviously the woman in San Francisco who was dragged to death did not want that to happen to her. She was robbed. She chased after the people who robbed her. They murdered her. Her friend was on her way to her vigil. She got mercilessly beaten and curb stomped. Literally, they stomped on her head on a curb. But these people, despite these things, will come out and be like, I feel bad for the perpetrator. How many times have we heard these leftists come out and apologize for the person who victimized them? Like at a certain point, these cities are just not salvageable. Like, and it's been years of this. So we need to be on the front line winning a culture war. And that means getting your family somewhere where your vote matters substantially more. And it doesn't matter in New York or San Francisco. Are you going to donate, James?
I don't. Well, thanks for putting me on the spot. I don't know. Yeah, looking at his legal fund, I'd have to look into it. But I think it's a worthy cause. I hear what you're saying. These places are incredibly dangerous. If I had a family, I absolutely would not stay in New York. Now, I understand this is easy for me to say because I'm not tied to a career in a particular area, but I also know people who have moved out of cities in order to protect their family, and that's supposed to be your number one priority. The reason, in truth, right, if you're a married person, well, what's the point of your career if not to support your kids? And if you have to stay in an area where your kids are going to be harmed in order to have your career, I think it's obvious that it's not worth it.
I have a friend that I was just talking to today that lives in the city, and he's going to get trying to get a permit to carry. He knows that he's probably not going to get it in the city, but he's trying to get it for Nassau County. But anyways, he went and he had the class today, and he was talking to the instructor, and they were going down the list of the laws and what is and is not acceptable or legal in New York, and he was totally unaware that essentially he couldn't defend his own life in New York. He was unaware that if he shot someone that was in his home armed, if he shot them and he didn't kill them, that they would sue him and they would probably win, and that the family, even if he did kill him, the family was going to sue him, has no idea. Your average voter is unaware of the circumstances that they live in. So again, it's one thing to be like, oh, I want to be in the city, etc. You should probably check out the laws in your area. You should be aware of the voting record or the prosecution record of your DA before you vote for the DA. You should probably be aware of who your DA is before you vote for them. And if you're in a city, it's probably too late. But when you actually decide to get out and go to another place, be aware of the people that are running, so the new place that you go to doesn't turn into the garbage place that you left.
Let me jump to this story here about another crime that took place in New York City. Homeless man charged with hate crimes for defecating on pride flags at Manhattan Eatery. They're trying to give him the maximum sentence.
Blasphemy laws.
Yep. They said that him taking a dump on a pride flag and wiping his butt with it was a hate crime and intolerance. You know what I think? I think he's just some homeless guy who was looking for a place to take a dump. That's it. And they're like, why didn't you use napkins? And I'm like, I don't know that he was thinking at all. Why did the guy in the subway platform push the woman into the front of the train? Why did he murder her? I mean, these people aren't well. When it comes to the guy in the train who is desperate and hungry, what did AOC say? It should not be a death sentence for this man who is just hungry and unwell, and it's the city's fault. Is this man not hungry and unwell when he pooped on a pride flag?
Well,
exactly.
So and I mentioned this the other day. Whenever it comes to an act of senseless violence. 1,000,001 different excuses are made, and we have to go into a deep socioeconomic analysis of what could have led that person who we think is a criminal but is truly a victim to feel that they needed to commit that disordered act. And then, of course, when you speak out against the party, you're not afforded that same luxury. They don't make 1,000,001 excuses. They don't play mental gymnastics to make what you did seem okay within their framework, because we just never funded that inner city library that would have educated you and made you a more enlightened, functioning member of society. And in part, it's because when you go out against the narrative, because they're single-minded, that means you are responsible for all of the world's ills. The reason violent crime happens is because we're not allocating our resources properly, and under the religion of Marxism, simply moving material things around in the material world solves all of the problems. Let's put the wealth here instead of there, and then there won't be any more crime. We'll stop it all from happening. And because you're not on board with that, you're responsible for every violent act. So by simply criticizing the party, by doing what he did and disgracing or desecrating an LGBTQ flag, he is contributing to serious violence. This is actually how their minds work, because he's taking away from the credibility of their philosophy, which will fix everything if we just let it.
Take a look at this story from Daily Mail. Cleaver wielding convict terrorizes BART train passengers trapped in underwater tunnel by pacing up and down train, threatening them, then slashing man in the back.
If only we'd built that inner city library.
If you try in any way to stop this man, you will go to prison.
You must allow him to chop you into pieces before you try to defend yourself.
Well, we saw
It's
that.
the Gulag
sorry.
Archipelago. Literally what the Gulag Archipelago
Every
is
society,
about.
every society has something they hold sacred. There's no escaping this. We all do it. Every society does this, and we pretend like we're beyond it. We pretend like we've advanced beyond this behavior. No, you haven't. You will have something sacred, and for us, it is this diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is the pride flag. It is the racial hierarchy.
Not for us.
These are the things, but increasingly it is.
For a cult.
I think it is becoming the values of the nation. I think it is becoming the values of almost every institution, from the military to the media. And look, obviously, I'm against this stuff, but I think it's hard to pretend like this hasn't not now come to dominate the vast majority.
I think you're wrong. I think Budweiser proves the people of this country do not hold these things sacred at all.
That's the difference, though. You're correct that it's not a grassroots popular thing. It's totally astroturfed, and you're right. It's coming from the institutions, because the people that are going to school and graduating graduating and going on to be CEOs and stuff, they're bringing this into the boardroom with them. There was a long time where people thought kids were going to go to school, they were going to do this stuff in sociology and in the humanities, and then they would get out into the real world, and the real world would fix them. Well, guess what? They're bringing it into the boardroom and they're putting it into the HR departments and making it the standard culture in broader society.
And culture is downstream from power. It does not matter what the average person thinks. It does not matter what the masses think. It matters who the influential people, the taste makers, the institutions, the power brokers. It matters what they think, because they then inform what people think. How popular was transing kids 5 years ago?
Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
Just 5 years ago. It didn't exist, right? And now it's everywhere. It's the dominant thing. It's the center of the cultural battle. Why? Is that because 70% of America suddenly decided they really cared about mutilating children? No. It's because they were told what to care about, and so they did.
I think it was actually because people on the right started pushing back against it, and then the left started widely promoting it in popular media.
Well, it's complicated, right? Because this is what the left will do.
None of this stuff
They'll
is simple.
force something onto the general culture. Just as you've mentioned, very powerful people will start pushing this stuff. They'll put it on television. They'll promote it on social media. They'll have the algorithm orient people towards this kind of content that normalizes this truly abhorrent, disgusting, perverted behavior and the abuse of children. And then when normal, healthy people who aren't just going to go along with what the culture tells them they should believe say, that's sick because that is the mutilation of children, their response is, why do you care so much? Why do you care so much? People are always going to be trans. People have been trans, et cetera, et cetera. But your average
Have
person...
an answer.
What?
When someone says, why you care so much?
I do have an answer. I do have an answer to that question.
I'm saying for the average person listening.
Oh, yeah.
Know your answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you should be able to have an answer to that question. But my point is that they play this game where they make something an issue and then they ask why you're paying attention to it.
Well, they create the problem because they believe they have the solution.
And because the dialectic gets advanced that way, right? Because now you need to moderate it. Okay, you didn't even have a position on this before, but now you need a more moderate position so you can find some kind of consensus inside a dialectic that was created for you artificially.
Yeah.
So this wasn't even, you didn't need to have this debate. And now it's essentially you for not only to have this debate, but to move your position in that debate closer to whatever the progressive position is. And that is a key thing that people have to understand.
Exactly. And that's why conservatives end up letting go of cultural ground. Because what happens is, first, people understand that, like, marriage between a man and a woman for the purposes of procreation. Well, now contraceptive starts to become normalized, and conservatives start to fight that. And then people start talking about gay marriage. And well, okay, now fighting contraceptive seems outdated. We're going to try to fight gay marriage. Now people have decided that two men can be married, even though that's literally impossible given the definition of the term. But now they're saying that we can trans children. A man can become a woman. You go over there and you try to fight that. Well, now again, they're pushing it on to kids. So conservatives jump from fight to fight to fight to fight because the left keeps setting new fires and we abandon everything.
I got a question for you guys. If an Antifa guy was on a subway and it happened to him, that some guy like started beating the crap out of him and then he got into a fight and now he's getting arrested, how would you feel?
Wait, can you repeat that? Like the Antifa
guy wearing an Antifa
defended
shirt
himself
is on a train and some guy's threatening people and the guy in the Antifa shirt grabs the guy and subdues him and gets arrested for it. How do you feel?
I feel about the same way.
So you would donate to the Antifa guy's defense fund?
I'm not donating to his. So no, I wouldn't.
Well,
but I wouldn't.
People listening, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Would you, if there was a guy wearing a Bernie Sanders 2024 or a Joe Biden Harris 2024 shirt, and he grabbed this guy in because the guy was on the train threatening people, would you donate to them?
That's a good question. I mean, if he was an Antifa, I wouldn't need to donate to him because no one would try to press charges.
I'm saying if they did. My point is, you get these people who live in these cities, and there's an 85% chance this guy is a Democrat voter, and everyone's like, quick, give him money. And I'm like, I mean, maybe is he a guy who actually believes in American values, who is fighting for those values, or is it the overwhelming likelihood, 85%, that somebody who lives in these cities, especially after we've seen the mass exodus from moderates and conservatives, the likelihood is even greater. This is some Biden voter who is getting what he voted for.
No, I mean, I hear you. I'm 100% behind the right having legal defense funds and standing up for people. I think that's a level of infrastructure that absolutely has to happen, but you have to use that wisely. You can't just throw it for people who are in, like you said, putting yourself in that situation, likely political enemies. You should be putting it towards people who you know are going to be using it properly. So I'm generally in favor of these organizations existing, people making these kind of donations, but you do have to be thinking about what you're actually applying that to.
People can give whatever they want. I hope this guy does not go to prison. I hope he wins. I'm glad people are supporting him. I'm just saying, at what point are we going to be like, look, I'll put it this way. I left New York a long time ago because a black supremacist murdered some cops. And I said, I am not going to live in a place that is like this. I am not going to have my tax dollars go to a city. One of the only cities with income tax and one of the highest income taxes for a resident in the country, in the world. And then I'm in the Jersey side, someone plants bombs, and I'm like, okay, better not be in this place. But we end up in a place where we're at in the tri-state, the tri-state area and the eastern panhandle of West Virginia is moderately purple for the area. You've got Maryland, which of course is a major battleground and very left, very Democrat. Extremely. And then the eastern panhandle is maybe surprising people, but West Virginia, the schools are very, very woke and they're trying to indoctrinate kids. So now I feel pretty good about where I'm at. I feel safe. I have constitutional carry. But we're in a local jurisdiction where there's actually some serious concerns with the school board. And recently the GOP was talking about, despite the fact that they've won the school board, they still have this woke stuff that they're trying to push out because this is a key battleground. Now my concern is, are we giving money to Democrats who voted for this because we're not paying attention and we assume because this guy did a good thing that he is a good guy? I mean, if it turns out this guy doesn't really live there, or just moved there, and he's a big Trump supporter, and he's been fighting against this stuff, and he's been posting about it, I'll be like, okay, this is a guy who needs our help. Kyle Rittenhouse was in a suburban area. He was in a split area politically, and he was there as an innocent kid trying to help clean up his neighborhood, actively fighting for his neighborhood, and trying to help even the protesters. And that was years ago. And we're like, okay, now it's several years on, and we're immediately knee-jerk jumping to the defense of a guy we don't know, who could turn out to be the biggest Joe Biden supporter who voted for all of this. And that's my concern. Giving money to the people who are making the problem happen. If you live in New York, especially after the Summer of Love riots, especially after Chauvin, Ahmaud Arbery, Kim Potter, etc., especially after even the 25 people being shoved in front of trains, The likelihood is not that this person is someone who believes in our values and is going to be fighting for them. The likelihood is it's just some default liberal guy who's supporting Joe Biden. So I'll wait and I'll see. We'll see how this plays out. But that's my biggest concern. Are we, as people who want to push back, who are buying Jeremy's chocolate, who are buying Jeremy's razors, then going to donate to Democrats when they get themselves in trouble? Are we going to be the people who are contributing to the bail funds of Antifa far left extremists? When Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's staff raised money for the far left rioters, we were like, this is abhorrent. This is ridiculous. How dare you do this? So my question now is, when you get people who live in these cities, the overwhelming likelihood is that they support these things. So what is that issue right now? Is it that we assume he must not support these things because he tried to subdue a crazy person? I don't necessarily believe that. The woman who got punched in the face clearly didn't want to get punched in the face, but she votes Democrat. This pink-haired hippie lady who lives in New York City. It's a 90% chance she did. Right. And you go and talk to these people and you ask them, like, are you going to vote Democrat? They'll say yes. And be like, what about the rising crime? They'll say, I don't care. Or that woman in San Francisco who said, I will never call the police. And then she gets murdered. Yep. Are we going to donate to people like that? I don't know, man. It's tough.
I don't find any significant flaw with what you're saying. Like, personally, I don't see a whole lot of reason to donate to people that live in cities that, like you say, it's like they're there, they stay there. That's what they're asking for. That's what they want. Most people, again, aren't even aware of their situation. So I don't see a big reason to argue with you about it.
Look, we'll see. People are saying that he's from Long Island. He's a Marine. He's probably not a Democrat. And it's like, okay, let's see what he has to say. When he put out his statement, his lawyer could have put out a statement that said something like, New York has seen violent crime escalating rapidly for several years, and the people of the city are tired of it. When this man violently threatened the passengers of this train, our client, Daniel Penny, along with two others, found it reasonable to try and subdue him to protect the lives of others. Did they do that? No. They said, it's so sad and unfortunate that people are suffering in this city. They gave a woke statement that many conservatives started complaining about on Twitter. But now they're willing to throw money at these people who are just giving this like default tepid response. I just think, I don't know, man. Don't look at me. I don't have all the answers. Y'all can do what you want,
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't come out and said anything at all. If he were to come out and...
He did.
Did he justify his position?
No.
Yeah.
The statement they issued on his behalf was just lamenting the poor homeless of New York City.
I will say the point of that statement, though, is to try to diffuse the protesters,
as opposed to.
So I mean, it may not be. Well, that's what he's trying to do. And to be honest with you, if you're in that situation, I get a dude who's not really like engulfed in the culture war. I can get why he'd be like, "Yo, what am I supposed to do to calm people down and get myself out of that?" There is again. People don't know people don't know the laws that they live under most of the time. They don't realize what laws get passed, and they don't pay a whole lot of attention to politics. They should, absolutely. I'm not saying that, their ignorance is fine or whatever, but at the same time, it's like, he's probably got no idea what he's gotten himself into. Yeah, and he's like, what do I do to make this go away?
And so often there's just no connection with these people. I live down in Florida and we get all these people down from New York, come down, they move. They can't believe what's happened to New York. They don't want to live there anymore. They're finally out of there. But what's the first thing they do when they come down to Florida? Oh, I can't believe what DeSantis is doing. I can't believe all these things that you're living here. I can't believe your politics are like this. It's like, there's no connection. They genuinely do not understand how one thing leads to the next. They just come down and think, oh, well, there's some kind of magical reason that this place is safer.
There was that viral thread where a guy from San Francisco was like, we moved to Florida because the crime was getting too bad. And then someone said, just, don't vote Democrat. And then some leftist was like, you're going to support DeSantis? And his response was immediately to be like, no, I'm left wing and I'm going to vote Democrat all the way. Oh my
gosh. Well, this is part of the complexity here, right? So you were mentioning earlier that we want people to leave these cities if they're, an at all decent person. But then when people leave and they end up voting for the same policies, it makes everything worse in the states they go to. And I know ideally you would have conservatives leaving New York and going to a place like Florida, but I'm sorry,
I disagree.
A New York conservative is not the same as a Florida conservative.
I do think that the viewership of Timcast is probably the kind of people that we're talking to. It matters. I don't expect that people that would be, tuning into Timcast and say, you know what, Tim's right, I'm going to move, would be the kind of people that would be like, oh, now I'm completely going to vote
I was in Chicago. I had a couple $100, and I just left. And I went to California, and I was just like, I'm leaving this place. Crime, corruption, police were like all the stories. A cop choke slams a woman because a meter maid. The police are operating black sites, and I'm like, I definitely don't want to be here, and so I'm gonna get out. And granted, I was 23. Is easy for a 23-year-old. But there was a lot of risk. I was planning on being homeless, and I got lucky in finding a place and meeting some people. I got to sleep on a couch periodically and sleep on a floor. I'm just saying, like, at this point, we've already seen most people flee to Florida, and now Ron DeSantis is winning by 1 million votes. People fled to Texas. That's where the biggest influx of new American of migrants was. American internal, where they call it net migration. People fled California. They fled New York. I don't know why we care so much about these places. New York and California. You know what I mean? Like the corruption is off the charts. Like that you've got in San Francisco, a Cleaver wielding convict terrorizing the train. AOC is not saying anything about this. Did she come out and say, like, we really got to stop these people terrorizing citizens? Like,
No.
I don't know. At a certain point, I'm like, bro, you reap what you sow. You live there, you live there.
Yep.
Well, what AOC has said is we need a national railway system, and I can't wait to see how safe and wonderful that is.
It'll be really good news when all those people from New York can get right to Florida in just a moment's notice. So we'll really appreciate that. That'll be awesome.
It's like one of the nice things about the United States, one of the things that makes it work is that we can be far away from you guys.
They keep saying
that's kind of nice.
They keep saying we need a nationwide rail service, and I keep saying why?
Because they want to get rid of planes.
Well, they want to get rid of planes. They want to get rid of automobiles. They want you to have zero privacy or autonomy. You got to be on the mass transit. So you have to be on the large mass high-speed railway system with the rambling homeless person who's swinging a machete at people.
Maybe that's it. For real, though.
No, it is.
A lot of subway crime has been popping up in all of these cities, and they want to take away your ability to have a car. They want to put you in this.
Yeah.
They want to take away your ability to defend yourself, which is the whole point of prosecuting this guy.
I think they might just want you to die. You know what I mean?
I mean, you are the carbon that they want to eliminate.
I mean, if you're going to have a total state, if you're going to have a totalitarian state, you got to get rid of individuality and communities. You got to get rid of the autonomy that little regional communities provide, the ability of people to get away. You have to make everybody dependent on the system. So I think that's absolutely
You have to convince people that the Senate is undemocratic and that.
Good. I'm glad. More undemocracy, please. As much as we can.
You have to, but you know exactly why they want to get rid of the Senate. It's not like it's going to be some kind of positive thing if they were to get rid of the Senate. But the point of getting rid of the Senate is because they want to, they don't want to have states that are individuated and have autonomy and stuff. That to the progressives is bad. So
yeah. I wonder if a lot, these people are Malthusian. They think there's too many people and they want to get rid of them. I wonder if a lot of these policies aren't necessarily about individually killing any person. It's about creating a net pressure, which results in the long term with a declining population.
I mean, they don't have to do that. That's already happening. That social engineering is already getting them there.
If they did it, right, then that's the point. That's what I'm saying. Like, are these policies put in place for the reason of creating a pressure which results in a lower population?
The thing is, I don't even know. I don't think it's that well thought out. I just think that society is a thing that people have to constantly work to upkeep and progress. So it's not something that someone just built for us and then left here and we can allow to sit. It has to constantly be upkept by people living virtuous lives. And when you don't want to live a virtuous life, you just rationalize that. And when you try to rationalize that in a wide-scale political sense, you just call it leftism. So all these policies are people attempting to rationalize the abdication of their responsibility to uphold our society and culture.
Well, I can put it another way for you, Seamus. There was this TV show where they were tracking fat women. And it was like, why are they fat or whatever? And this woman's like, I have a glandular problem. And then what they did was they filmed her throughout the day. And they were like, at the end of the day, they said, how many calories do you think you ate? And she was like, probably 1,200. I had a light breakfast with just some eggs. For lunch, I had a salad. And for dinner, I had, a small steak. And they were like, you had 4,763 calories. Like, what? And then they showed the video of her grabbing cookies and candies and snack cakes and stuff like that all throughout the day. Mm. And that to me is the rationalization of it's just one cupcake.
Yes.
It's only 150 calories to have a one cup. It doesn't matter. And then you do it 100 times.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's how vice works, right? When a person builds virtue, they're not going, only one. You don't have to rationalize it in that way.
So what ends up happening is there are people who are doing things, anything. spending money in bad ways, and they're saying, what's the big deal? You know, it's only a little bit, but those grains of seed add up. And when society as a whole partakes to a certain degree in vice, this is what you get.
Exactly. And, you know, mercy for the criminal is in many ways violence against the person who the criminal harmed or will go on to harm if you let them be. And so it starts small. And it's good to be compassionate. We want to have understanding for people. We want to learn how to correct this behavior. It's not all about punishment. However, we have consistently, over the past 50 to 100 years, just slowly shifted in the direction of having a lot of mercy and understanding towards those who commit crimes and absolutely no compassion for those who are victimized by those people. And that's how you get to this point. You chip away at it slowly.
Yeah, G.K. Chesterton said every high society dies by forgetting basic things. And it's really simple. Like, you understand that you obviously have to keep law and order, that you have to have families, that you have to have productive society. But every time you just let one little thing slide, you let one little thing go, it can't really be that bad. A little more freedom, a little more liberation, right? But you understand what that thing was holding up. You don't really understand the fence that was sitting there protecting you from something. And as you continue to disassemble those things, it just, you don't even notice. You don't even notice that the frog is boiling until it's too late.
It's like property rights and property crimes. If you don't prosecute property crimes, you end up with your retailers leaving your city, which is exactly what's going on in San Francisco now. It's probably going on in multiple cities. I think it's going on in New York as well. There might be shutting down stores, but I know that it's happening in San Francisco. If you don't protect the rights of the peaceful, law-abiding citizens, then they're going to leave. And that's exactly what's happening in San Francisco right now.
You alter time preference, right? Why do I need to defer gratification here? And why would it make sense for me to if all the wealth I build up is going to be stolen?
Obviously, you've got people leaving, then your tax base leave, your businesses leave, which is happening, your tax base leaves, and then you end up with Detroit.
But that's probably what they want.
I mean, possibly.
These things all result in population decline.
Well, and they also result in populations that are easier to rule. Right, a population that is obsessed with vice and has no autonomy, has no ability to take care of themselves, is much easier to enforce your will on, and that's a key aspect of it as well.
Short time preferences as well. If you have longer term time preferences to things like kids and your future, or what you're paying attention to, short time preferences, you're thinking about partying and stuff like that, immediacy of gratification and stuff.
Yeah, civilization is indistinguishable from time preference. It's the same thing.
So what's your advice to the people in San Francisco who are on a train with a guy wielding a cleaver, screaming and then slashing a guy?
You try to boost his time preference, try to lower his time preference,
You'd feel a lot better if you waited a week before slashing somebody.
Exactly.
Trust me. Really? Yes.
Just got to sit him down, have a conversation with him. I know that a drag queen never read a book to you as a child, all right? But we're going to try to fix that brokenness now.
That's what we're really talking about in the end. How can we get more drag queen story hours for homeless people?
That's it. That's the only way.
If only more...
That'll fix it. Yeah.
If only more dudes
that would fix it, but not in the way that
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, not in the right direction, unfortunately.
If only more men in dresses were reading to children.
Yeah, that would fix everything.
Talking about drag queens, that's accurate. Don't get all saying that I'm transphobic or anything out there.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
Who knows?
I don't know. Is this it? Is it all over? Chicken City?
Well, no, it's not.
Donald Trump 2024?
Look, it's not. I think people got to be able to look outside of their own culture, civilization. It's not the end of the world. It could be the end of America. It looks like it's almost certainly the end of these cities, but maybe not. Maybe they bounce back. I can't tell you for sure.
Trump's
could be
Trump's
the
got to
end.
go in and arrest everybody.
You think so?
I think Donald Trump needs to get elected, and then we need to see his new AG just file criminal subpoenas across the board for bureaucrats, members of Congress, local politicians. Just go in, scoop them all up, lock them in a box.
Yeah, you wonder if
I like the box part.
Yeah. Where criminal activity is proven, I'm saying. I'm not saying arbitrarily just arrest people.
But why not? Let's do that.
No, I'm saying
let's do that. I know TYT wants that clip.
Right. I'm saying if a politician was peddling influence to massive multinational corporations, selling out their local water supply, polluting it, and this is something that the Young Turks and leftists should be on board with. If there are criminal elements in government that are selling out the working class and the people, they need to be criminally charged They need to stand trial and then get locked up when proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
But isn't it strange? Isn't it strange that wanting the same consequences for political leaders and oligarchs that you want for the average person makes you an extremist?
And
wanting
that's what
rule of law to apply across the board.
But it's because the people who are doing these things and have power own the likes of the New York Times or the Washington Post or Politico, and they're going to say, what did Tim Pool say? People who are criminals with power should be arrested. He's far right.
Well, and this is the thing, right? People talk about authoritarianism. I mean, the problem with authoritarianism, or what we usually refer to as authoritarianism, because that term has been completely bastardized, is not that there are too many rules or that authority is strong. It's that those in a position of authority do not have the law apply to them, right? That's the real issue that we're talking about. People are able to make rules that they enforce upon other people that they are not held to themselves. And that's exactly the situation in the United States of America today. Though I will say, of course, there are entire classes of people who don't have the rules applied to them, who are supposedly lower on the hierarchy in terms of economic well-being, but have a higher social credit score because of neo-Maoism.
Can I bring some good news into the conversation?
That's what it is, right? It's a new cultural revolution. These people are not privileged, and therefore they're above you on our new social hierarchy.
The whole thing
Green
would
leap forward.
Go ahead, Richard.
Well, I was going to say, I want to bring some good news into this conversation. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
From NBC, HSBC downgrades Anheuser-Busch InBev as it deals with a Bud Light crisis. That's right. Their stock has been downgraded.
It's a death sentence.
What they're saying is, this could be bad. Yeah. They're saying that what Anheuser-Busch is saying about the Bud Light crisis is not true, and it's worse than they're letting on.
Yeah.
Buy the dip.
I'm having a good...
Buy the dip.
You're giving financial advice?
I'm totally kidding. I'm not giving financial advice, and don't do that. Don't support that. This is moral advice. Do not support them as a company.
So here's what I think. They downgraded the stock to a hold, meaning don't buy, don't sell, just don't buy it. That sends a signal in my mind with the bad PR and the downgrading, people are going to sell like crazy. Because I got to be honest, if I had $1 million in Anheuser-Busch or something like that, or tens of thousands of dollars, I'd have sold a long time ago. I would have been like, get me out of here. And I'd buy Coors. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying that's what I'd do. Coors is up 20%. You don't want to miss that gravy train. But now they're downgrading it. Anheuser-Busch is in some trouble right now.
I should have had the foresight to invest in the other beer stock.
And a lot of people did. Started. As soon as it happened, I bet a lot of people were like,
or just shorting Bud Light. Again, not financial advice.
It's a good idea, though.
Yeah. I bet there's a lot of people who just became extremely wealthy. This is what I was talking about this with stocks, right? I read the news all day, every day. How did we not know to invest in Coors? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, wait, Anheuser-Busch is taking a big hit. Their rivals are going to skyrocket. I'm going to buy some.
As far as Anheuser-Busch goes, I mean, now, honestly, is not a bad idea to, again, not financial advice, but shorting Bud Light right now or Anheuser-Busch right now
might make you some money.
It helps, it adds to the pressure that they're experiencing because, you get enough short sellers and it can really affect the price of stock. So if it's already on the way down, I'm sure there are people that are shorting it currently. I'm not sure what kind of pressure it is. You can find that kind of stuff on TradingView and stuff. But
what if in a few months the stock is just completely wiped out?
It's a penny stock.
Yeah,
then
because nobody wants to hold it.
Yeah,
because people are like, I don't know, man. This doesn't. No one's buying it. No one wants to buy this product.
Dude, I was laughing so hard. You and I, we were talking about this in the show a little while. How Anheuser-Busch had sent a bunch of complimentary cases of Bud Light to different distributors because they thought that would be a way of apologizing. And what we said was like, no, people actually don't want to be seen drinking it. They're not. No one's concerned with Bud Light is it's too expensive. Okay, like people don't want to be seen with the beer. And then I saw an article that was published the other day. I was like, it backfired. It turns out people don't want to be seen with Bud Light.
That's the issue now. The viral video from Fenway where nobody was lining up to buy, the Bud Light stand was completely nobody was shopping. The beer was all there.
The brand is honestly really, really damaged because dudes are going to look at their buddy and be like, you got the gay one. That's what they're going to say. It's the small little joke.
Yep.
And Bud Light does not have a flavor profile that demands you buy Bud Light, right? Well, it don't matter when you buy the Bud Light and your buddy goes, "You're gonna suck a blah 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 too," or something like that. That's it. It's over.
But hold on. Imagine this: a young college age dude goes to a bar with his buddies, and he wants to pick up some chicks. The question is, right now, a serious question. How will they feel if they're doing it with a Bud Light? Is the chick gonna be like?
The girl's gonna be like,
It's
"Oh,
not-
I'm cis.
You just remember. Remember,
I'm normal."
It's such a small thing though, because it's just what if someone laughs? It's all it is. That thought right there will change people's behavior patterns way faster than people telling you don't do this. Any amount of finger wagging. If I grab this, my buddy's gonna laugh at me, and everyone at the bar or at the party in the social setting is gonna see that I'm the butt of the joke. Let me get the Coors. It's that simple.
And this is such a beautiful thing because it shows how much more valuable memes are than rational arguments.
Absolutely. 100%.
I mean, I'm not even joking.
I think you're right.
Totally.
Like, I'm sorry, but feelings care way more than your facts. It's just way better in actually winning a culture war scenario. Because here's the beautiful thing about this: Bud Light, Anheuser-Busch is in this hellacious position because due to the corporate pressure, because they have to please all the progressives, they know they can't back down. But they also know that they've lost the culture war here. They know that they've now been graded this status that is an insult to the average American. And so now they're trapped in this hard place where any attempt to recover their image will burn them with their corporate betters, with Wall Street, with the investment class. But anything that they do, to try to recover that image is just going to doom them. But they also are just going to continue to hemorrhage money if they don't do something.
And this exemplifies perfectly what you were saying earlier about the fact that the elite have an entirely different set of morals that they want to push onto the general public. And often what happens is they overestimate the degree to which the peons, are willing to buy into their nonsense. And so even though they would say it's good and it's tolerant and it's wonderful to celebrate the LGBTQ agenda, of course your average person doesn't want to. And it's not just a question of whether they're willing to let other people do it, because by drinking a Bud Light, you're saying, I celebrate this personally. And people don't want to do that.
You know what? I'm sick of y'all bigots. You know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? I am going to produce a Bud Light, pro Dylan Mulvaney YouTube video where we're going to go around and tell people, please support Dylan Mulvaney by drinking a Bud Light. And then I'm going to pay to run it as a commercial on Facebook and YouTube to show that Bud Light is the beer for the LGBT community.
Yeah. You should do it. You should see what happens.
And then, I think the left should agree with that and say thank you for this promotion. And then regular people will say, I'm not going anywhere near that beer.
And what we're just going to show honest responses from people.
You can get those tops that go on the top that look like penises. They go right on the cans. Fit right on there.
I'm just saying the last thing Anheuser-Busch wants is for Bud Light to be the gay beer. But that's what it is.
I don't know why they chose that for themselves.
That's what it is.
Seriously,
they want a new market. They didn't want the frat boys to be in their beer, and they got rid of that market. Right now, that market's gone. It's gone.
And hey, here's some advice. Don't, Anheuser-Busch, next time, don't break up with your boyfriend until you have another one lined up.
Well, and again, let's not forget the context in which this was pushed. It was right after a transgenderist shooter shot up a Christian school, killed 3 children. Another transgender shooter was caught right before they went and shot up a church. And instead of saying, we stand with the Christian community, we stand with this community that was attacked, we stand with this school, we're going to donate to these people, what do? They doubled and tripled down on pushing the agenda of the people who identified with the same identity as the shooter.
That just solidifies
sickening.
that the boycott is the moral thing to do. I still honestly think for the average person that you got the gay one is going to pay the bills.
But that's a little too complicated, Phil. What's going to happen is the guy's going to be at a party and he's going to be sitting there with his jaw hanging open, and his buddy's going to walk in with a Bud Light and go, you're gay.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
That's it.
That's literally it. That's it.
It's like Beavis and Butthead.
But do you ask the average person, what would you rather have happen? Would you rather have the media and the left say, you're a homophobe, or have your buddy at the bar go, you're gay? What does the average person fear more? What does the average person feel more? Where is your power now?
Boy, you got the gay beer.
Yeah, like
all it is.
Beavis and Butthead.
I've already seen that meme too, where the guy's like drinking it, and then
that's the Babylon beer with that article. It said guys drinking Cosmos make fun of dude drinking Bud Light.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
That's a good one, man. It's too easy.
Oh, you think my peach Bellini's funny now? Huh?
You're drinking a Bud
This
Light.
is delicious. That thing's gay and it
There you
sucks.
go. Bros drinking Cosmos laugh at friend ordering Bud Light.
Oh my gosh.
At least my Cosmo's delicious.
But it's more than that too. I think part of it is that it's just fun to be a part of something. Yeah. And so when someone comes in and then they're like, hey, Bud Light, we're not going to buy that. They're all high-fiving. It's not so much that these people probably care about Bud Light, but that they feel camaraderie unified around making fun of something and having a joke. And then probably what happens is the alpha dude is sitting there and he's with his buddy. He's like, what do you guys want? Like, I don't give me a Bud Light. He's like, no, I'm not going to buy that one. That's the gay beer. Get Yingling. And then the other guy goes, oh, it is? Huh? I think, yeah, you're right. And then once that guy cracks one joke, they all start cracking jokes to try and fit in. And they're just memifying Bud Light as a bad brand.
It's over, man. It's already over. It's so over.
This is actually very, very funny. It does really remind me of when people were shorting GameStop, because it was a meme, but it was also the destruction of a company and all these investment firms.
No, not shorting GameStop, investing in GameStop.
Investing in GameStop when people were trying to short it. That's right, because they were harming investment firms.
Right.
Yeah.
They put a big investment firm out of business.
Did they get bailed out? And also, I think Trump Jr. and Ocasio-Cortez even had common ground on that. They both tweeted the same day about how the government should not be privileging this investment firm. They lost fair and square.
Yeah, I know, but like talking about how Matt Gaetz and AOC have worked together on some good things is kind of like mentioning that sometimes Bizarro Superman will like help someone. Bizarro Superman's still kind of bad.
Oh, for sure. I'm not like, hold on, wait, excuse me? Do you think I'm an AOC fanboy over here?
No, I'm just saying
no, I'm angry. I want to date her, Tim. Don't you get it? Like, that's why I criticize her so much.
Oh, I thought it was because you thought she was evil.
No. People only criticize things that they like. Don't you know that? Like, if you criticize AOC, it's because you want to date her, right? If you have any issue with like LGBTQ lifestyles, it's because you're in the closet, right?
That's the iron law of kindergarten playgrounds.
That's true.
Exactly. I know you are, but what am I?
Pulled her pigtails.
No, when you pull her pigtails, it's because you like her.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So I guess I just really am so in love with AOC.
I mean, so I guess when you make a video about AOC, you're like, it's a marriage proposal, essentially.
Basically, I've only made like one or two videos about her, so I guess I've proposed to her twice. I'm waiting,
They're not getting. This is modern times. No one's looking to get married. They're just looking for the Netflix and chill.
Ooh. All right, you guys ready for this story? Here we go from Timcast.com. Gay conservative professor under investigation for offering chocolates to attendees at an open house.
I gotta say, hold on.
Hold on there, Bertman. What kind of chocolates were they? They were Jeremy's chocolates. That's the story. A professor had candy laid out. Some of them were Jeremy's chocolates. They said it created a hostile work environment and put him on leave.
I gotta say, of all the teachers out there trying to give candy to children, I think this is the one we need to worry about the least.
Nice. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, Richardson, who is a self-described gay conservative, said the college's human resources wrote a letter regarding the matter, which was delivered by a uniformed police officer.
Unbelievable.
To his home on Monday. The State Center Community College District informed Richardson, who had been employed at the college for nearly 33 years, that he'd been placed on paid administrative leave pending an investigation into unspecified allegations of creating a hostile work environment, along with reportedly harassing and discriminating against colleagues based on gender.
And we are not fed up with this yet, America?
Bruh.
Oh, it's only getting worse, buddy.
It is? Oh, yeah, totally. It's getting so much worse. But I'm wondering what happens to actually if people will get fed up. At what point they will, if they will, because I mean, I am of the opinion that we are in a cultural revolution in the United States. And I'm not sure how many people here agree with me, but I think everyone does. And I'm just wondering when the rest of the alleged liberals will realize that progressivism is not liberal, that it's illiberal, that it's authoritarian, that it's essentially, Maoism in the United States.
Yeah, I think this professor's horrible. He's a really bad guy.
Now I want some.
Want a little bit?
Yeah, send it over.
There you go.
Which one is that one?
We have like 2,000 bars. Have you had one yet?
I haven't got a lot of them.
No, I haven't had one.
You want one?
Nah, I'm good.
It's not bad.
It's really not.
I got some already.
Not a whole bunch of ingredients in it either. That means it's healthy for you.
Which one is this
I
one?
guess. It's a lot of sugar.
Right.
It's actually not that bad. One bar, it's like 19 grams of sugar. Mm-hmm. So I guess if that's all you eat, not the worst thing, but, we're now in a state where if you take a dump on a pride flag hate crime, maximum penalty. If you try to kill people on a subway train or threaten to do so, you're the victim.
Of course.
And if you're a professor who offers up chocolate that happens to be made by Jeremy Boring, you will be placed on leave and placed under investigation, and the police will come serve you notice.
I mean, the left understands the friend-enemy distinction just way better than the right. They understand where they're at. They understand that the key right now is marking territory, knowing who's on your side. They're willing to punish their enemies and reward their friends with every opportunity. And it's gross. It's difficult in a society. We wish we wouldn't live that way, but we have to understand that's where we're at right now. And just like you're saying, you got to get out of these cities if you're a conservative or if you're right-leaning or any of this. Well, you also have to get out of any of these lines of employment or anything if you are not along with the progressive agenda. They're going to come for you no matter, even if you're gay or whatever. It doesn't matter. If you disagree with them on something, you will get purged.
That's why I like eating the chocolate bars on the show and making a joke out of it, because I really would prefer it if people stopped buying Hershey's and started doing nothing but buy Jeremy's. Parallel economy.
Tim actually pays me in Jeremy's chocolate.
That's all he gets. He gets
that's
one.
literally all I get.
One chocolate bar every night.
Every night.
That's it.
It's
But he has to
magical.
eat it.
I have to eat it even if I'm really full.
So,
Even if I'm really
so
full.
Tim is feeding the Irish, basically?
Yeah,
Is that
that's true.
confirmed?
That's true. Tim
But what if there's a
feeds
chocolate
starving
bar?
artists. What's that?
It's just a bad joke. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is I mean, look, this is how the left works though, right? So you mentioned earlier someone on the subway threatening people, trying to bring them harm.
You mean the victim?
Yeah, they're a victim. Exactly.
Right.
Well, that's because the left, of course, divides people up into victim classes and oppressor classes. And I think a lot of people on the right don't realize just how far that goes. It's actually ideologically consistent. It doesn't map onto the world, but it's consistent because in their minds, if someone is a victim, any and all behaviors that they engage in are a manifestation of their victimhood. And if someone's an oppressor, any and all behaviors that they exhibit are a manifestation of their oppressiveness. So even though you had a clear situation of self-defense, right? The person who was screaming at other people on the subway, he's a victim by his very nature and can never be anything else because the left's placed him in this category. So his behavior, which we all understand is reasonable, people victimizes others, actually makes him the victim. And then the person who acts in self-defense is an aggressor because he can't be anything but an aggressor. It's literally his nature. It's the label that belongs on him. It's his category.
It's literal anarcho-tyranny.
Well, it's an inversion of aristocracy, right? Aristocrats have more privileges than you. They have more rights than you. Well, because this person is a victim, therefore they are allowed this extra latitude. Certain laws don't apply to them. They are above these things because these allowances have to be made. You're held to a different standard because you don't have that status. It's really all there is to it.
Well, I feel like... Oh, go ahead.
Well, and I'll also say, I mean, they actually believe... These people are so paranoid and insane. They think, and this is... They honestly think, the true believers among them, that white people on subconscious level, even if they don't realize it consciously, white people are walking around thinking, how can I kill a black person? They really genuinely think that that is how white people's minds work in this culture. So when a white person defends himself from a black person and that black person dies, well, they were clearly just looking for the opportunity to kill a black person. And if you want to tell me they don't actually think that way, then give me any other model of thought that predicts the outcome of them always insisting that the white person is an aggressor in every situation, even when it was clearly self-defense.
They're projecting. These people feel that way, and their assumption then is everyone else feels the same way as them.
Well, you remember what Robin DiAngelo wrote, right? About
Everyone is racist.
Everything she said about black people. And also, in any given situation, it's not a question of whether racism occurred. It's how did racism manifest itself?
Yeah,
That's actual insanity, right? But that is what they believe. These are their sacred texts. This is their academic literature.
It's not whether or not you have sinned. It is how have you sinned. You are impure from birth because of the original sin of racism. And it's unfortunate that these things are actually explaining them is fairly complex oftentimes, and the average person doesn't understand this stuff, and to try and explain it to them just makes you sound like you're a little on the crazy side. And I think that the most effective way to fight this stuff is to inform people of what's going on so that way they can see. Because when you try to engage most of the leftist arguments at their face, the leftists don't really care which way you engage the argument, because the point is to get you to engage the argument in the way that they frame it.
Right, on their terms.
Yeah, and that's part of that is actually the target. It's not whether or not you say the right thing. There is no right thing to say. It's that you're engaging in the argument that they make. Like,
right.
When they make the argument about this person that killed the guy on the subway, they're making you engage in the argument in a certain way. Yeah. And that's the problem. If you can notice that, no, this is not about power dynamic. This is about a guy trying to protect people. And if you can make the viewer of the art engagement see that and see through their framing, that's a way to make people aware of what's going on. But to just engage with the argument that they present to you, that ends up making the average person the fool, because they use things like dual meanings with words. The meaning of racism will change and stuff in the middle of the argument and stuff. So it's a lot of Mott and Bailey stuff. But if you don't know and you approach the arguments on their face, you'll end up losing.
Well, you have to reframe it. Exactly. Because they reframe things in such an insane way. And what often happens is conservatives, and this is a point that's been made a million times. It's a dead horse, but sometimes a dead horse needs a good smack or two. And I've never heard that. Well, that's because it's a Seamus Coughlin original. But they'll say, it's so annoying that leftists will accuse conservatives of being racist, and the conservative goes to all these links to explain that they're not racist. And that's true, right? And then on the other hand, you'll have like fringe conservatives who think that they're transcending the paradigm by going, actually, I am racist.
That's the wrong thing to do.
What you should be saying is, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
This has nothing to do with that. You're clearly grasping at straws. Like, don't even engage with the issue of race when they bring it up.
When they say
it's never done sincerely.
When you're saying when you're being told you're racist, the wrong answer is, well, let me tell you, everyone's racist. So didn't I show you? No, that is wrong. That is a failure of you on your part. You have to say that you're not racist, and that to even accuse you of racism is absurd.
What I do from now on?
Right off the bat, like in my opinion, you should reply with an insult, because to call someone an insult or to call someone racist is to insult them. That's the intent that they're doing.
From now on, anytime we have a leftist on the show, the first thing I ask is, "Are you racist?"
Yeah. Good move. Because then you put them on the defensive. You know
what I mean? It's because they have to say yes. Yeah. And then I'll be like, wow, we've never, because all of us, we are not racist.
So I don't even know. I can't platform you here.
That's interesting. I wonder if the New York Times will say about you're an admitted racist.
Yeah.
So you're an admitted racist. You admit you're racist. That's interesting.
It's horrible.
Yeah, we should be platforming admitted racists on the left.
Isn't Robin DiAngelo an admitted racist?
Yes. And this is the funny thing. 100%, I would imagine, of leftists who come on the show would be self-admitted racists.
Yeah, guarantee.
You know what I mean? And then we bring on a conservative and we're like, you've been accused of being racist. They're like, I'm not racist. Tucker Carlson been accused. He's like, I'm not racist. The left, they all will admit it. Isn't this the weirdest time to be alive?
It's because they're all white supremacists.
Well, and again, this is how they
feel bad about it.
Just remember, when somebody says you're racist or asks if you're racist or asks if you have like negative racial attitudes, what they're doing is they're looking at you and they're asking, when did you stop beating your wife? If your response to that is, well, I would never do that. And it's like, hold on. Why are you even giving they just said they made a ridiculous accusation with no evidence.
I figured it out. How conservatives can win every single court case, every single jury. Here's what you do right now. I hope the law firm that's representing Daniel Penny hears me out. Ask every juror, are you inherently racist? And if they say yes, then you say to the judge, I don't think an inherent racist can be an impartial juror on a race on this racial issue. Yeah. Anybody who's moderate or conservative leaning or independent will say, I'm not. And any leftist will say they are.
Totally. Jury hack.
And then you're not kicking off someone based on their political affiliation.
Or they're watching Tim Pool.
They're admittedly racist. And you're like, Your Honor, if the person is admittedly racist, how are we going to have a fair trial?
Yeah,
we're not. Is it like, it's fair point? They had outright said they're biased against people based on race.
Right.
Then you'll get some middle of the road guy. He's gonna be like, no, I'm not a racist. I think I'll be fair. I'm like, okay.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, yep. Jury hack.
Try that.
And you can do it in any single jury trial, any single one, no matter what it is, civil case, criminal. Imagine this. Imagine you're trying to win a defamation case against the New York Times or something like that. When you're doing jury selection, say, are you a racist? The leftists remove themselves.
So here's a funny story. Speaking of jury selection, back in the 1980s, my dad got selected for jury duty. He was talking about the people who clearly did not want to be on jury or did not want to have to do a jury duty. So one guy came in wearing an American flag tie because he's like, look, I have a business to run. I don't have time to be on a jury. And then this other lady, when they were asking questions, without them knowing anything about the case, they say, do you believe in the death penalty? She goes, yes, and I think he should get it.
Yeah, right. That's how you get out of jury duty. Not the obvious, I don't have time for this, or you dress weird. No, you got to just be a bad juror.
But no, the guy wore an American flag tie, and they didn't just answer the question normally. They didn't call him back to the jury.
Wow.
This is back in the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's ingenious.
I would love to have jury duty.
This is also Cook County, right? This is Chicago. So.
If I was on jury duty, maybe I shouldn't say this because this will preclude me from.
Yeah, they're not. You're already off, dude. There's no way. There's no way to let you sit on jury.
Not guilty no matter what. Like,
bro, all right, now it's done.
You'd have to show me a video of the guy committing the crime, and then like the guy being questioned, is that you on camera? Yes. Did you commit the crime? I did. And I bet, okay, well, I guess then I'll say yes. But like,
even then, you're like, I don't think he pleads guilty, and you're like, I don't think he did it.
What if it's deep fake?
If it's like a crime involving children, I probably would like give me evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. But if it's something like possession of a drug, it's just never gonna be. It's gonna be a no for me, dog.
Yeah,
it's just not happening.
If it's not a violent crime, dude's going home.
If there's no victim,
going home.
If it's like if it's crimes against children and of a sexual nature or something like that, I'm probably just going to be like, lock him up.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like, I need the evidence. Obviously, you got to present your case. But that's where I'm actually like, the system should imprison these people. Mm-hmm. Then it's like somebody's like, he was like driving and they found a bag of weed in his car. I'd be like, I don't see why putting him in prison is going to.
Or he hit a pedestrian or something. It's like, look, we're just a nation with too many.
That's not a joke.
I'm just kidding. Is that a real thing that people?
If a guy is on trial for hitting a pedestrian, there is a strong possibility that I'm not going to send him to prison. Because you got to think about what that means. Are we talking about a guy who intentionally ran someone down? Okay, then probably. Give me the proof and we'll lock him up.
Vehicular murder.
Are you talking about a guy who's like driving down the road with his kid and then his kid drops the toy and then he looks down and someone walks out from between two cars and he hits him and he's like, oh my God, I can't believe what I've done. Like, I don't want to send that guy to prison.
Well, I would send the kid to prison for not saying something.
Think about Daniel Penny, right? They're saying it's manslaughter. They're calling it manslaughter, saying it was not proportional. Bro, if I was in the jury, I would just be like, there is literally nothing you can say. I wouldn't want to, like, here's the problem. If they're like, answer truthfully, I'll be honest. If they're like, do you think you'd be fair and impartial? I do think I'd be fair. Absolutely, 100%. And that's an acquittal. This guy's going home tomorrow. I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to say to all the jury, I'm like, I'm going to be the foreman. All in favor? No? Well, I'll say this, not guilty, and I'm not changing my mind. There's literally nothing you can say. And then it's either, guys, that's my position. If you want to go home, you can agree with me. Otherwise, we'll be here as long as it takes until we get a mistrial. But I'm not guilty for me, dog.
Yeah.
Two things. The Libertarian Party and libertarians have been very pro jury nullification for a long time. And, you know, if it's a crime without a victim, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know, I'm not going to put this person in jail. I'm not going to ruin their life. And second of all, Seamus, the children do yearn for the mines. So
you want to send kids to mines?
I mean,
typical libertarian.
That's where they belong.
What do you mean they play Minecraft? That's the point.
That's right. They yearn for the mines.
Oh my gosh.
Minecraft
is a psyop.
I was literally
to get them
setting you up for that.
For using to get them prepared to want to work in mines.
Exactly.
That's true.
So this is like a return to tradition. Then.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show if you really do like it, tell your friends about it. Word of mouth is the most powerful way podcasts grow, especially when they're trying to censor us and the corporate press is lying about us. And head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member. We're going to have an uncensored members only show live on the front page of timcast.com at about 10 p.m., where we even have members call into the show to ask questions. So if you want to be part of that, click join us at timcast.com. But let's read. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Auron, sir, you recently said, quote, the base cares more about Trump publicly humiliating journalists than competent governance. Do you really feel that way, or was it just a Twitter tweet thing?
No, I think that's absolutely right. A lot of people have framed the DeSantis-Trump, battle over, well, we want DeSantis because he's more competent. And I want to be really clear. I'm a big fan of DeSantis. I live in Florida. I love what he's done. But I think Trump is more valuable right now because I do think that just destroying the image of the journalist, of the media as something important that crowns our leaders, that holds up public opinion, and defines it, is way more important than any given policy. I think it would be great if Trump was a more competent governor, of course, or in competent governance. But I do think that at this point, the base does care a lot more about him humiliating the media, and I think they're right about that.
I kind of agree.
Yeah, honestly.
It feels good because they lie. They're lying liars, smear merchants, and he gets a chance to stand up and say to them for us. And it feels good, man.
The way to break their grip on power and stuff is mockery. That is the best way to make fools of them.
Agreed.
And let everyone see that they are not better than, most of the time, worse than you.
The only reason to interact with these legacy institutions is to humiliate them and reduce their ability to control credentials.
Michael Malice is right. When the job is finished, when every journalist is looked at like a tobacco lobbyist. That's when the job is done. That's what they deserve.
And honestly, like, we are getting there. And that's something I think you're right about that, in the sense that, look, that's where Trump is most effective, when he's tearing these people apart. And I think many of the cultural shifts, look, there are things he did in office that I do think were very valuable. For example, the judges he appointed, the fact that Roe was overturned. There's a lot to praise him for in that, but it was the cultural impact he had, and also the fact that he forced the Warhawks into the Democratic Party for the most part.
Just 1 second, I want to go ahead and trigger some of the Trump supporters.
Yes.
Last night, the worst thing that he did was he called the right to bear arms a privilege.
Yeah.
And that is unacceptable. And I want to point that out, because I don't want people to think that like that slipped by me as like ultimately pro 2A guy. Like,
I want to read the super chat for you,
Go.
Phil. That one gamer says, "LOL, why did Phil sound like SpongeBob?"
Earlier.
Dude. SpongeBob singing metal. Cody May says, teachers are more competent than that host, Phil. What was that one reference to?
which host? Oh, the host with Trump. Are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. Game Collins. Okay, I'm going to read this one. Trav to the World says, imagine if Bud Light had sponsored a sequel to Two Girls, One Cup. The association would cause people to be revolted by the beer. It's not that people think Bud Light is gay. It's that they're literally disgusted by the product.
Listen, we are at the rate we're going on. If we stay on the same track, we are 3 prides away from a Two Girls, One Cup float heading right down Main Street.
No, but I think you're right.
That was 2 prides ago.
I think, but what Trav to the World is saying is that people see Bud Light and it reminds them of Dylan Mulvaney, and Dylan Mulvaney I describe as nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just seeing Bud Light, it's grating. It's like, oh, I'm just infuriated by the whiny, shrieking, twitching things that Dylan Mulvaney does. It's like weird nails on a chalkboard behavior.
Yeah, definitely. Disgust is really powerful too.
It is. Yeah.
Radioactive Ret says, Seamus, you should make a cartoon where Joe identifies as one of those tiny chairs so he can get kids to sit in his lap.
Oh, Joe
he can sniff
Biden?
them.
Oh my gosh. Come on, man. Well, what is a chair? None of you conservatives
not
can tell
identifying.
me
It's
that.
where they wear the fake chair arms. You know how they do that, and it's a couch costume, and then you have like fake arms, and you ever see those?
No, I've
look
never
up-
seen a fake chair costume. Let me look up.
Yeah, there's a bunch of
fake
prank
chair
videos where like a guy's in a
costume.
car,
What kind
and
of
then
websites are you on?
YouTube. the guy's in the driver's seat wearing a costume that looks like a car seat, and then someone sits.
I have seen that, dude.
And then he grabs him.
Those are great. The car looks like it's
I
driving.
got a
by
really
itself.
good idea for a bit that I always wanted to do, but it's just not. There's no
Feasible?
point. Well, I don't know. The idea was to get a car and put rabbits in a passenger seat, and then in the back seat, and then for the driver have a rabbit taped to your head, and then slowly pull up, and then when you get to the drive-through window, just turn your head very slowly and go, "Hello, I ordered the food. Please hurry. It's cold up here." You know, like the rabbits are taking over.
They might be.
I just think that'd be fun.
They have a lot. I mean, look, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
Tim, I regret to inform you, Eve 6 has joined the struggle session of CNN. they're complaining about Anderson Cooper on the Bird app as well. Shame on you, Anderson Cooper.
It's so weird that the guy from Eve 6 just is like, he's got one of the biggest songs of our generation.
Yeah.
A couple of them, actually. Here's to the Night, I think, was bigger.
No. It's not. It wasn't.
Well,
but it's big.
But I'm pretty sure their second album was bigger than their first album. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
But Here's to the Night was played at every graduation ceremony and like school dance. That's why, like, I think I understand in terms of everyone knows the song Inside Out, the Heart in a Blender song. Yep. But Here's to the Night, everyone's like, oh, that's that song. I think if they heard it, they might be like, oh yeah.
Yeah. He
went from that to some random guy in the crowd just waving his fist at Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like, why, dude?
I mean, to be fair, like his star kind of rose again when he started talking smack on Twitter because he was really out of the public eye.
But come on, like your star rising in the sewer is not something that's like, and I've offered to have him on the show like 12 times already, and he runs away every time. He's like a dude in the crowd, and he's like, yeah, Donald Trump. And then I'm like, hey, bro, love your music. Would you want to come on the show? And then he runs away. He's like, and he's gone.
He's always been nice, and so I don't want to talk badly about him, but it'd be cool if he would come on the show and tell us why he thinks that a Maoist struggle session of CNN is a good idea.
I mean, he's not going to call it that. I'm just like, hey, bro, I see you have opinions. Would you like to share them on a podcast? And then he just shuts up and disappears.
Come on.
It's like hang out. He comes and smack talks and then runs away when I'm like, hello, friend. Would you like to come on the show?
I promise I will not try to ratio. What?
One of two things. I think I tweeted, if he doesn't come on the show, I'm going to start a band called Eve 7, which is one better than Eve 6.
We should just cover a bunch of Eve 6 songs.
Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was rocking out to Promise earlier. I tweeted about it because I think it's funny. Like, bro, I grew up listening to this music. I listen to all the pop punk
We
bands.
could totally cover Inside Out and Here's to the Night and put him on YouTube. He'd make a bunch of money. It'd be fine because it would just ruffle his feathers.
I got to say, man, the lyrics to Promise are really good. Like, that dude wrote it's lyrically brilliant. And I think Here's to the Night is one of the best songs ever. It's a classical, it's a classic coming of age, like high school graduation song from our generation. And everyone knows the Heart in a Blender song. And I'm like, bro, you're allowed to have these opinions. And you're also allowed to come on the show and talk about it. But I don't get it. It's like he doesn't want attention.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It's because of the fact that the left thinks that coming on to this show is violating the rules. You're engaging with the verboten, the people that are not to be named or spoken about.
Well, this is part. So he was on, and we talked about it. Lance was on the show a little while ago, and then I saw him retweet a day or two after the shooting the headline about how the shooter had shared stuff from Timcast. I was like, dude, you were on the show. I know, right? You were like on the show with us like 2 days ago.
Yeah,
well, the funny, but he exemplifies perfectly the cult. One, he said that I'll keep it very, very family friendly. That a male engaging in relations with a male of a specific nature was not gay, and that he also recognized every single person would disagree with that stance. Meaning, like, he's aware he's this weird outlier of fringe belief. He's also aware that on this show, I said, I think, he was like, you think Blair White should use a men's room? I was like, no, I think Blair White should use the bathroom where she looks and most fits in, and Buck Angel too, so it'll probably create more problems. And he's like, oh, that's really woke. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. Maybe if you watched the show, you wouldn't call me right wing. But he doesn't watch the show. So he tweets out, the right finally admits that the grooming thing was about indoctrinating kids into queer lifestyles, and they think it's sexual. And I'm like, finally admits. That's like literally the premise of the whole thing. The trans pedagogy document shared by James Lindsay about getting glitter on the carpet that can never be removed is the basis of the entire argument the whole time. And they don't watch the show. They have no idea what's being said.
Like trying to separate children from their parents and their familial identity so that they see you as the only person who cares for them, so that they can inculcate you into a cult of sexual perversion and have you act in ways which sexually gratify them. If only there were a word for that. If only there was a word that describes that kind of behavior.
I mean, I made a sign and everything, so.
Right on. Anyway,
that's right. Yes, don't make me tap the sign.
I think we just got to cover, Promise or something. Or Here's to the Night. And then he'll be forced, after the cover gets 1 billion views, to be like, I'm going to come on this show.
Let's do it.
We got to get the guy from Eve 6, Max. Max, come on. We want you on the show, Max. We love your music.
If you don't come on, we're going to cover one song every month by Eve 6 until you come on.
We're going to make you double platinum again, whether you like it or not. He has this tweet pinned to his Twitter where he's like, "We're going to be huge again," and I'm like, But I hope that he's not thinking that by just tweeting how he hates Trump is what's going to make him big, because I genuinely think their music is really good. Like he's a really good lyricist. Like the lyric, man, I got to tell you, and especially how bad modern lyrics are. I'm like listening to the old Eve 6 song. I'm like, these are good. These are well written. So he's just got to not pigeonhole himself. I think that's what he's doing. Let's read some more. Here, where are we at? Fear Me It's Bree says, hey, Tim, tomorrow Maine is having a hearing on a trans trafficking bill that would make us a trans tourism state that would allow the kidnapping and transitioning of children from other states. LD 1735. Yikes.
Jeez.
Man.
That kind of stuff is really, really, really dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, and it's only getting worse. It's only spreading to more states, which means you're only going to have more challenges that go up to federal. It's going to get wild.
It's going to get, yeah.
All right. Robert Knight says the problem with defaulting is the massive amount of U.S. bonds owned by banks. It'll cause the cascade failure leading to the CBDC. It's why Dems refuse to negotiate. This is what I think the plan is. Maybe.
I think so, too.
And they'll blame it on Republicans.
Yeah.
All right. Eric Miller says, question for everyone. Would you surrender your freedom for full communist subjugation if it guaranteed everyone else's freedom in the country?
What?
Would you choose to singularly live under a communist dictatorship, but everyone else in the country, all 330 million, are guaranteed freedom forever?
Well, it wouldn't work. There'd be no central distribution of goods to me. From who? Uh-huh.
No, it means you would be subjugated. You would only be allowed to eat the bare minimum. Mm-hmm. You would have to do the work to which you're capable of doing. You would not get fancy cars. You would never have a beautiful suite. You would live in the gutter. And it meant everyone else was free.
I gotta talk to my spiritual director about that one. I'm not sure.
I think you're obligated to do it, Seamus.
I'm required to.
I think you are required to.
Why would I? But I don't think so, because then I'd be forcing myself to live in ways that would destroy my soul.
But you'd be sacrificing yourself to save everyone else.
Maybe.
WWJD.
Yeah, the Jesus of communism.
Yeah, exactly. But does that save my soul? Because I'm just like, I assume they're going to prevent me from practicing my faith, right?
Well, let me ask you this.
No, I'm not doing it.
But what if it made everyone else want to practice the faith?
If it pushed everyone else
to be Catholic? Well, let me ask you this.
I'll ask when the opportunity comes up, I'll have a long conversation with my spiritual director about it. That's a moral question I don't have an answer for.
Here's a question. A guy, he's like, Seamus, you're coming with me and we're going to subjugate you. And you'll never be allowed to practice your religion, and you're going to live under a communist boot. And then you say, for everyone, I will choose to do this. Mm-hmm. And if in doing so, everyone else in the world said, wow, is that what it means to be a Christian? I convert.
Hold on a second. But then in some sense, you could argue that that's doing good that evil, or that's doing evil that good might come of it. Like I'm abandoning my religion so that other people might adopt it. So I'm doing something bad, hoping people will do something good. Yeah, well, it's complicated because it's being forced on me, right? But then I'm also agreeing to have it forced on me.
No, I'm saying, yeah, like you are. No one's saying you don't believe it. It's just you're not allowed to practice. They're going to lock you in a box.
I don't like that.
Everybody else. But I don't know. That's tough. I mean, I said, it's a good question. I might say yes. If it was you win the culture war right now, but I have to live in a woke university, I can't leave forever. I might say yes.
There's a different question here where if it's we win the culture war, and all these lives are saved, these children aren't mutilated, abortion stops happening, but we kill you or you have to be miserable or something, then I think there's a much more clear moral answer to that. But if it's you have to forego your relationship with God, I think that's different.
You can't practice. You're allowed to believe whatever you want. So, what if they said, we're going to lock you in a university, decently sized, you can never go outside again, and the culture war is over, freedom and meritocracy wins? I'd probably say yes to that. And then you can people will walk by and they'll point and I'll be in the window and I'll be like this, just looking sad.
And then there'll be a plaque under it that's like, he gave us our freedom. And you're like, up against the window all sad.
But there's video games in there or something. So
No, wait, what? So you get locked in a building where you get to play video games all day and you're the savior of the world?
Hey, but they're the worst woke video games.
He's playing Depression Quest.
You're playing EA's most woke thing imaginable.
It's just Snake. Eternal
fun.
Snake.
All right, Lamppost has question for Phil. Today marks 1 year since we lost Trevor Strand. He meant a lot to us in the metal community. I was wondering if you had ever met or toured with him, and if you had any kind words to share.
I didn't know Trevor well. I met him a few times, passing by and stuff. We did one tour that they were on back in 2012. It was Death Clock, All That Remains, Black Dahlia Murder, and I forget if there was a fourth band, but I wasn't close with him, no, so I don't have any kind of special stories or anything, unfortunately. But I know he was a really nice guy, and he was really, really well loved. And if you are struggling, call someone. Your life has value. And to be honest with you, the people that are in your lives, they kind of share your life with them, so it's not just yours to take. Don't give up. Call someone. I don't know what the hotline is off the top of my head, but call the suicide hotline. There are people out there that you can talk to, so don't give up. Cheers.
What do we got? Glucose donor says, Seamus, did you see the Vox video today about Texas and Judge shopping? As a Texan, I would love to see Debunkers episode 4. They made a bunch of claims and projected the entire time.
Well, thank you, because we're always looking for new videos to debunk for the Debunkers, and we're trying to do one episode every month. Moving forward, that's our goal. So if you guys want to see videos debunked, please, please, please send them to us. My Twitter DMs are open. I'll also mention this. Make sure you send stuff that has a lot of statistical information in it. Like, I don't want, it's a waste of time to do a debunkers video over something that we're only refuting based on principle. Like, I want to look into their stats and explain to you why their stats are BS. So make sure it's something that you're watching that you can't figure out how to debunk, that it would take us research to be able to debunk. And we'll do it.
Ryan Berkebile says, a few years ago, a picture went viral of a Black Lives Matter wiping with the American flag that was ruled freedom of speech. It's because the American flag is a national flag and the pride symbol is not. It's ideology. So they're making the argument that, although I do think it's interesting because you can argue nationality is protected under the Civil Rights Act, but I think it's obvious. Struggle sessions.
Yeah.
Communism. Don't insult their religion.
Yep.
They'll come after you.
Green leap forward.
Yep, that's what it is. Pinochet's helicopter tour says New York. we read comments from Pinochet's helicopter tours all the time.
It's so funny.
New York was the only colony to abstain from signing the Declaration of Independence, of which the second paragraph is pretty much an instruction manual. Really?
Wow, I didn't know that.
All right. Bo Jiven says, Tim, remember when you said you'd drop kick a rapist on the Philly train? Now you cold shoulder the Marine because why? You're being a hypocrite. Oh, but you got out of the city. Yes, if I was on the train, I would drop kick the rapist literally raping the woman. That's still true right now. I would not choose to go live in a place where those things are regularly happening. I hope this guy gets acquitted. I'm just saying it's particularly frustrating to be at a point where people, after all of these years, are still just blindly supporting these cities, living in these cities. And I'm just like, when Kim Potter got arrested, I said, look, after everything that's happened with defund the police, abolish the police, with the BLM riots, you choose to be a cop and this happens to you. Like, at a certain point, you have to be responsible for your choices you make. That's just my philosophy. That's my moral philosophy. It's like, if somebody is in their house and the house is on fire, it's an accident, we're like, okay, we're going to try and save them. If somebody walks into a burning building, it's like, do we believe in personal responsibility and to what degree? So my stance is this: the guy did the right thing. He was protecting people. He should not be charged at all, but we all knew it was coming. We all knew it would happen. We know the violence has been on the subways for a long time. We know the violence is getting worse. At what point does his personal responsibility kick in? That doesn't mean don't donate to him. I'm just saying, at what point are we gonna be like, yeah, like these people choose to live this way? You know what I mean? That's the point I'm trying to make. Because I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to live that way. All right. Sir Thomas Drake says, everyone deserves a legal defense for unjust prosecution. Who cares whether he's left or right? He did the right thing. My question to you then would be, the people arrested during the 2020 riots, should we donate to them? I mean, we're not going to assume any of them are guilty. They're innocent until proven guilty. But everybody still got mad that Kamala Harris and the staff for Joe Biden's campaign were donating to these leftist legal funds. They were directly supporting people we knew were engaging in this violence. But on an individual level, we don't know. You know, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. When the left rioted during Trump's inauguration and set fires in the street and torched a car and smashed windows, they were acquitted, sued the city, and then won millions of dollars. And it was because we couldn't prove, the government couldn't prove, any particular individual did anything wrong. We recognize those people are evil people, right? Like running around, but we also recognize there's no grounds for conviction because we don't know who they are. You know, I don't know, man. Where's the line? Where's the line? If we assume this guy is conservative, it's okay. But if he's Antifa or a Democrat, people are going to be like, why are you supporting these people? You know, you wouldn't donate to the defense fund of Antifa. Nobody donated to the defense fund of the people with Molotov cocktails after they were accused of giving those out. Can experience, as I live in Brooklyn, in the only Republican congressional district in the borough, plenty of us do vote knowing the facts, bro. Well, I support you, man. Best of luck in the fire. You know? All right, let's see. Where are we at with these super chats?
The super chats there.
Golden Fleece Game says Trump needs to purge and purify the state. Blatant violations of the Constitution need to be eradicated. I think he needs to arrest people. I look forward to it.
You'd be in jail.
Yeah, well, he didn't do that, so maybe he won't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Neglectful Sausages. Bill Gates bought tons of Heineken stock in March, shortly before the Bud Light fiasco. Think about it. Well, you think that Bill Gates was like, Anheuser, you need to sponsor Dylan Mulvaney. Trust me. Really? It'll be great.
Do you think that Bill Gates is really making money off a stock in Anheuser-Busch? I mean,
yeah,
Heineken.
In Heineken, I mean, is Heineken moving that much? What kind of volatility is in the Heineken beer market? I mean, he's already like the owner of IBM. He's got more shares of IBM.
Microsoft?
I can't imagine. Yeah, Microsoft. I can't imagine that there's a compelling reason for him to get into the Heineken business.
You know why? Because AI is just going to start writing way cooler operating systems without having nearly the overhead. And then people are just going to have a custom OS, and then Bill Gates won't be able to do anything about it. But let me tell you, they won't have custom beers in the same way. You know, not quite as easy for a computer to spit out a new glass of beer with a set of tasty ingredients.
I'm not a drinker, but I can't imagine Heineken being like the winner of.
Look, he's a scientist of a sort. I trust him.
Josh Berg says Bud Light, the beer for the queer.
Yo.
Yeah.
But that's not fair because it's LGBTQ. It's not just the queer. It's the lesbian.
But doesn't the Q stand for queer?
It's queer. Right. Politically queer.
But I'm saying saying queer is exclusionary because you have to include all the letters and the numbers.
What does queer even mean at this point?
What are they supposed to drink?
Queer means an essence without, or I think it's an essence doesn't have a gender, is what queer actually is. Gender. Because the whole point of queer is to renounce and be against whatever is considered normal. Right. So to be queer is to reject normal sexuality. So if you reject normal sexuality, you can be queer, and that's part of the reason why
that's what I'm saying. Isn't all of it like queer, quote unquote?
Yeah, it all fits under queer, and that's why you can become queer and have an approved identity. So that's part of the reason why the LGBT lobby has grown so much, because everybody that's a normal person, normal cis white person that's boring and doesn't have a politically correct identity. Right. Because if you're a white person and you're a cis person, and you're male, you've got all the bad things. Yeah. If you want to get on board with the approval train, you go ahead and say that you have a queer identity, and then you're absolved of your original sin of cis hetero whiteness.
Well, this is why the non-binary thing is picked up.
Exactly.
So much. Yeah. All you have to do is get a weird haircut, and all of a sudden you're back in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. No, it's true, right? They've installed all these expansion
which is
packs,
exactly why Lance
used to be like you had to be gay, and now there's a bunch of other things you can be. There's like a bunch of expansive packs to LGB. Like I used to be LGB. I
want to make one up. Can we make one up?
Return to tradition, right?
But you get my point where it's just let's add all these new ways for people to be unique.
And that's why the graph that Lance was showing about left-handedness, that's why it's all BS. Right. Because it's not that there's an innate a larger amount of people that feel comfortable coming out.
It's that he doesn't show you the earlier in it where it's the same level, dips down, and keeps going straight level again.
Fair enough. But
so like they start from the bottom in history and then make you think that's where it originally was, when in actuality someone responded to his post with the full chart, and it shows throughout history it's like 10%. Then there was a period where it dipped down and then went back to 10%.
Yeah, but his argument is that it's people feel comfortable coming out and etc. It's not that people are actually members of the LGBTQ community and they feel comfortable coming out. It's that it has become an identity that insulates you from criticism. If you have an LGBT identity, you can call on your victimhood.
I could argue their position's better than they could. Why do I think there's a big uptick in trans kids and all that stuff? First, I think social contagion plays a huge role in it.
Yep.
But I also think endocrine disruptors that we've known about for decades, it's all of our food. Name a food product and it's got plastic leaching into it, all of it. So you're a mom, you're eating this stuff, it's going into your womb, into the baby, and the baby is having its endocrine system disrupted.
I don't know anything about endocrine disruptors. I heard about them, but I have no idea what they are.
Birth control is an endocrine disruptor. Some birth controls masculinize baby girls, and then we know that PCBs, phthalates are leaching into our food. I remember it was like 20 years ago they were talking about birth control leaching into the water supply because it couldn't be filtered out or something like that.
Yep.
So like now we're seeing a whole bunch of dudes who are small, effeminate, or trans, or women who are trans, and I'm like, yeah, I mean it makes sense. We're dumping chemicals in our food.
Yeah.
Maybe we should consider something like that.
Like going back to glass.
That's what we do. Look at this. Look at this, everybody.
Glass bottles rule.
You hear that? That's a glass bottle. And we reuse them because we are good stewards of the earth and we don't want to pollute. All right. I'm a Cylon says Elon hired a member of the World Economic Forum to be the CEO of Twitter. He took Twitter away from the puppets, FBI, and gave it to the puppet master, World Economic Forum. Just why? It's all part of the plan. Don't you understand? We're all going to go live on Mars. It's the only way. Why don't you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends.
Do it.
Head over to timcast.com, become a member, because the members-only uncensored show will be live in about 10 minutes on the front page of timcast.com. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL basically everywhere. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Auron, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, definitely. If you want to go ahead and subscribe to the show, it's on all the major podcast platforms or in MacIntyre Show. Also the YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, I'm on all that stuff, Twitter or MacIntyre.
Right on.
My name's Seamus. I make cartoons. They're called Freedom Tunes. If you guys want to check that out, we're going to be uploading one tomorrow. And if you like me, if you like what I do, if you like the cartoons, become a member at freedomtunes.com. You'll get an extra cartoon each week, as well as extended cartoons. And on top of that, you'll get behind the scenes stuff. I hope you all enjoy it. Thank you so much, and I love you.
I am Phil Labonte. I'm Phil That Remains on Twitter. Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains, available on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, the YouTubes. Go check us out. We're heavy.
And I am Serge.com. That was a good one. I'm excited for the after show. You guys should become members and you should join and you can talk to us live.
All right, everybody. We'll see you all over at timcast.com. We got people calling into the show again. We do this Monday through Thursday. It's really, really fun. So thanks for being members and we'll see you all there.